and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our redeemer, and it is in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's message. Amen. Hola, mi nombre es Kofi. ¿Cómo está? Bonjour, je m'appelle Kofi. Ça va? Ni hao, namaste, osaya anakitabuya, Ohio. I see you. Habarigani, Manut, Akwaba, Etesen, Jambo, Mimi Kofi, Nina Faraku Katana Nawewe, Akwartav, Barakalat Sham Yahava, Lamalat Sham Yahava. We thank you for being on. We appreciate, Barakalat Sham Yahava, Ban, at Bat, Yashta Al, Kwam Yashta El Teda. And I Kofi, Kohelet of Servant of Christ, Mashalam Hey. Hello, everybody. I'm Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. We appreciate your presence today. We really, really do. And thanks for spending some time with us as we continue to grow in spirit, in the word, and all the great and mighty things that Yahweh has for us, his people. We appreciate you so much. And thank you for being on. Hello, Sister Joy. Hello, Sister Betty. Hello, Keith. Nana Kofi. Okay. Renee. MIT Jenny. Minister Tamara. Hopefully everything went well last night. Was in a session last night that needed my attention, but we praise that Yah moved mightily last night. How you doing, Sister Nadine? Yehuda, how you doing? Kayvon, how you doing? Charletta, Old Head Energy, everybody who's on, we appreciate you so much. Thank you for being on. Hello to everybody, even if it's your first time with us. Iska, Carla, how you doing? Blessings to you. Today, and I'm sorry, once again, we give all honor and praise to the Most High. We give all praise and honor to him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, or website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. And thank you for your support of her business, which is making sure that the diaspora, or the health of the diaspora, is her business, her concern. Hello, how you doing? Keep the change. Everybody who's on, thank you so much. Today, and to the moderators, I bow down to you. Thank you to the ministerial staff. Thank you for all the stuff that you do behind the scenes. To SOC, thank you for your membership, for your family stuff. By the way, you should be getting some emails and stuff soon if you haven't already gotten them, to be able to remind you about some of the stuff we did with the re-membership class. It'll be coming with the link. And thank you guys for letting us know about it. There's still time. July 12th was supposed to be the indicator as far as the halfway point, but there's still time. If you need to talk to us, let us know what's going on. If you're coming to meet up with us in September, we pretty much got the spots that we wanted. They weren't able to get me the exact spot that I wanted or whatever, but at the same time, we got something where all of us are together, except for there's one spot that's going to be a little further, but basically all of us will be in one spot together. Praise Yah for that. It's in the fenced off area, and everything else that I told you is there. We still have access to all the stuff, and we're working out the itinerary and everything, which you should start seeing popping up now that we officially know. We have all the stuff that we were looking for, restrooms and everything are straight and all that. So we're excited, praise Yah, that we got word a couple days ago that everything is 100% ready to go. So we're excited about what Yah is doing. And for those of you who are coming, everything's there. Thank you for those that reached out and let us know. We have a little bit of financial help, financial aid there to help those who might need it left. So if you do need that, once again, just stay in contact, or if you just need more time, stay in contact, or if you might need us to help on the other end, and maybe we might have something the closer we get, please let us know and keep us informed. Okay. There's still, it's right around the corner, but there's still a lot of time, so to speak. All right. How you doing, Sister Kimberly? How you doing? King, how you doing? I think that, yeah, King. Oh, Sister Monica, excuse me. How you doing, sis? How you doing, Cedric? How you doing, Sister Nadine? All right, let's go ahead and get into today's word. Today's word is a question, and we're going to go ahead and look at this question. We're going to introduce it, and then we're going to get into the body of this and start trying to see if we can come to a conclusion. How you doing, Sister Tori? Today's word, or question, even if you will, is how do you not have what Yah has made? Coming right out the gate today. How do you not have what Yah has made? How you doing, Big Brother Thomas? How you doing, Simplicity? May I ask the question one more again? I just want to make sure that you with me on something. How do you not have what Yah has made? How you doing, Miss? And I'm so glad, even in the life coaching I was doing last night, we were talking about some stuff like that. Everybody, and how you doing, DB? Everybody's always, I don't have enough time. How do you not have what Yah has made? I don't have time for this. I don't have time for my family. I don't have time for prayer. I don't have time to make sure I do this or whatever. Something not making sense. How you doing, Sister Latoya? How do you not have what Yah has made? We got to ask the question. If everybody has 24 hours in a day, if everybody has, what is it, 84,600 seconds in a day, how do you not have what Yah has made? Right? You said some people don't got time because they're struggling, and or I'm very privileged to be able to live. Yeah, that would be something that you could throw at me, and I would have no problem with that. And by the way, hello to you. We should probably, address each other as human beings first. And maybe you felt like I was coming at you personally, and maybe you feel like my privilege is showing in that regard. And I would agree with you that there's some things I'm privileged to be able to do because I follow certain principles. I'm somebody who can talk about being in the street homeless. I'm somebody who can talk about being put in prison for something he didn't do. And even though he never went to trial and had to wait for the speedy trial for 8 months, I can talk about somebody who had to work a 9 to 5, just like everybody else. I can talk about it as somebody who basically made excuses as far as like, and I'm not saying there aren't real things. I can talk about it as somebody who was clinically depressed at one point in his life. I definitely can speak to you as far as not having certain privileges, but still having to figure out how to make sure that I could take care of my family and make sure that I took care of certain generational curses, made sure I came out of certain lust issues that I had, made sure that I had to be a better husband for my wife. So yes, I might have certain privileges, but some of those privileges do come with certain things that I do for sure. And so, as I always say, I have no heaven or hell to put anybody in, right? Maybe you are busy trying to say that you will put me in this prison, this hell, so to speak, to make sure that you feel like the stuff that you're in is heaven, or to try and say I'm privileged to be in heaven, that you might be able to make sense of the hell that maybe you feel you or others are going through. But at the same time, right, I still have to realize, how do I come out of it? um, so I never look at somebody who's dealing with depression, for example, as somebody that's bad, but it's literally depressed, right? I was pressing towards something in life and something caused me to depress, to decelerate. So what are those things that are going on, and what in my environment, maybe what in the family situation, what if I do have to separate, what if I do have to lose quite a bit to be able to get to the next level? Those things might be necessary and mandatory. It does not mean, though, that just because I'm privileged to be able to do something now, that I automatically see people throw this word around, right? And if you're not careful, you're trying to equate it. I can see the tone of it, and I don't mind it, if I be honest with you. The tone of it that goes to a place of, hey, white privilege, because everything white privilege, and then it's, well, patriarchy. But my patriarchs don't look like your patriarchs. Matter of fact, I dress like my patriarchs. My patriarchs don't dress like your patriarchs. I take care of my family in a different way than your patriarchs do. I respect and honor my sisters and my women and my mothers and my wife and my daughters in a manner that people don't do in your situation. But you might be coming from a culture to where you're so messed up in that culture, or a mindset where it's so messed up to where that's supposed to be the norm. And where I come from, that's not the norm, right? How I treat things, that's not the norm. Now, if your argument is that I'm privileged and therefore I didn't do anything to get this privilege. See, because even if we're going to use the word privilege, privilege comes from a connection point. So your mindset might be, my connection point is because I did stuff for the patriarchy. I'm anti your patriarchy. I'm anti the kingdom of darkness. I'm anti the United States corporation as far as the way that I live my life. Your assumption, right? You assumed. And you know what they say about people that assume, right? I won't necessarily put that on you, but I want to be careful that you don't assume things about me. You probably don't know about my life. You probably haven't even gone on YouTube and just literally, you could look at my journey. You can look at places I've been. You can look at places around the world. You can talk to the people that are on here, because it's not just virtual for us. This is reality. We actually know each other. We meet each other. We talk to each other. We feed each other. We sow into each other. We help people when people are going to prison and jail. We communicate with each other. We educate each other. We have a university where people don't have to pay, $100,000 in a year, right, to be able to get education. Matter of fact, they don't even have to pay $1,000 a week for a class or something like that, or $500 a class. They're able to get certain things. But your assumption is that what I'm talking about is something that you cannot obtain, or your assumption is that I'm just here to talk down to you, and I can get it. If you feel like you're down, you have to look up at somebody, then sometimes you feel like, why is this person trying to do this? But what if somebody does something that is on a higher plane of thought, or on a higher way of doing things, or is higher than the things that have us locked up? You see? How you doing? Yeah, because it's not important to them. We make time for what we find value in, right? How you doing, Brother Alton? How you doing, Memphis? See, so a lot of people are on here, right, and don't recognize, like, you and how you doing, Off Grid and Royal and everybody. See, it's not as bigoted as you might think, right? At least learn what the people are before we just launch the word, right? I there are certain things, and I get it, because there's certain things that we have to go ahead and just automatically go. We can't operate in that. We can't allow that thought. We can allow people to do that or whatever, because we know where it goes. So in your mind, you had to do that with us, right? And I get that. So if you block us, if you never come back, if you think that I'm evil, whatever the case might be, that's fine, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that's what it is. You said you heard the Sixth Movement was started by white supremacists. It could possibly be. I'm be honest with you, I don't have the answers for that, right? But once again, what am I talking about today? My main thought process, the main thing I'm trying to get across to you today is what? How do you not have what YAH has made? And see, people, and I get it, people will be emotional in this, because if you don't have something, very frustrating, right? Like, let's just be honest. I can't be mad at the person for being mad if I realize that people who don't have usually are going to be angry. But also, too, when you don't have, you think you don't have, when the reality is you still might have something that could be the thing that benefits you or causes your family to move. Yeah, there is. It's my dog or family dog. Yeah. All right. How you doing, me? How you doing, Joseph? Shalom. So how do you not have? The question is, how do you not have what YAH has made? That's the question. See, all I did was talk about time. We didn't even get into marriage, relationships, business, right? Freedom. Oh no, you're fine. I'm just saying that's my dog, right? How you doing, MIT Steven? So the question is, how do you not have what YAH has made? And put this on. My wife has put all types of essential oils in this container, so I don't get too bit up by mosquitoes today. Praise YAH. But how do you not have what YAH has made is a question. Let me ask this. Watch this. Do you want what YAH has made? All right, how you doing, Sister Mignon? Be safe out there. Let's ask it like that. Do you want what YAH has made? Or do you want to go ahead and say, why is it that you can't ever obtain what he's made? Yeah, this might not be the feel great message that everybody likes or whatever, but this is real. Do you really want, see, watch this. My wife, who I love very much, and I love the fact that my wife knows certain things that I don't know, and is greater at certain things that I'm not as great at, right? She said something to me a long time ago. I've talked about this before, and it really bothered me for some months. And I was upset that she said this, right? However, she was correct in asking me this question. She asked me a long time ago. She said, do you think that you deserve to be blessed? Because YAH has made it where I'm supposed to be blessed. How you doing, Miss Hibiscus? Yeah, a lot of people are missing the point. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, she asked me questions straight up. She said, Kofi, do you really believe that you deserve to be blessed? Because I would do all this stuff, and when people would try to bless me, I would have all these things like, oh, it's Yah's will, which is true. But hear what I'm saying. It'd be, it's Yah's will. You don't have to do anything for me. I'm all right. I know we don't have this. I know my family's not eating. I know this. I know I'm spending all these hours. I know people are kind of messing me around. I know I'm not getting family time in, but it's all Yah's will. Please don't help me out. Please don't give me what I need. Please don't. And she said, look, if you're going to do this full time the way that you say you're supposed to, full time pastors get paid for what they do. And if you're talking about being a Levite, Kofi, then Levites are not supposed to have a 9 to 5. And if Levites are not supposed to have a 9 to 5, then that means at some point you're going to have to be okay with somebody saying, I'll help you with your family needs. Right? If Levites work at 9 to 5, or aren't supposed to have a 9 to 5, and you're going to be a Levite, then you have to be willing to believe that Yah will bless you. How you doing, Trey? Thanks for being on. Right? Once again, I'm gonna ask, why do you not have what Yah has made? If you're in a situation where Yah says, I will supply all your needs according to your riches and according to his, riches and glory, and yet you're sitting up there talking about my needs aren't being supplied, it might be something that we're doing that is disconnecting us either from Yah or his will or how we can activate his will. Right? Like there is something in different medicines or different foods they might call an active ingredient. Right? You can have bread all day, but if you don't, as a matter of fact, in our culture, we make a lot of unleavened bread, right? However, if you want the bread to activate or to rise, there's an active ingredient, right? We might want some yeast in there to be able to make sure that the bread does rise, right? There's an active ingredient. You can have bread, but the bread doesn't necessarily rise unless something is active. Yeah, there's a leavening or a leavening agent, right? If you want it to rise, you got to have something that activates it. Right? How you doing, Cronus? Thanks for being part of the community. See, like there's got to be something that activates it. See, we just go to this place of if I'm holy enough, then everything just works out. But there's got to be an active ingredient. Is there anything there that activates Yah's will in your life? You can watch this. People have gone to church their whole lives and never even known the name of the Most High, let alone the name of his Son, never known the actual name of the Holy Spirit. But in your life, right, you can be part of something and never have something that activates the full nature of something. I talk about it all the time. Let's say you have arthritis issues, any kind of situs, really, but any kind of itis, situs, whatever. If you have arthritis, sinusitis, if you have sinusitis, whatever, right? We probably need to get some turmeric in your life, but I can give you as much turmeric as you want, and still, if I don't give you the turmeric, right? What happened? Or I can give you the turmeric, but if I don't give you something that activates it, then the turmeric's not really going to do much for you, right? So the turmeric needs black pepper. The black pepper will activate the turmeric, and now you can start dealing with the arthritis, right? Or I can go ahead and know that you have, let's say, breast cancer, and let's say with a lot of cancer, you're dealing with a cell that's not going to end up getting, for whatever reason, it's not going to end up getting enough oxygen. So if I don't get enough oxygen, then what gives me oxygen? I need actual grapes with seed in them, right? And that's something that gives oxygen, but I need it to go directly to the breast. So how do I activate that? Anything as far as breast milk or just the breast in general, guess what I can give you to eat? Any citrus, lemon, lime, grapefruit, etc. Right? If you cut lemon, lime, grapefruit, and all this stuff apart, and you even put it on the breast, you'll discover it looks like the breast, or even if you flip it inside out, it looks like the mammary glands. So when I say eat something that gives you oxygen, I need to also write this antioxidant, right? If I give something that's going to help you with oxygen, I have to then funnel it and channel it directly to where I want to go. So I give you the, because I could give you a bunch of stuff and it just go on in your lungs, maybe in your blood, and maybe it helps some of the stuff. But if I want to activate it direct, I say I'm going to send it with this citrus directly to the place that's affected. Right? This is when we get to a place where I have an active ingredient. So Yah could say, yes, I want to bless you beyond measure, but then you have faith that he'll bless you beyond measure, but you don't have the works to activate your faith. And how you doing, MIT Tracy? Sorry for missing you. How you doing, Sister Deborah? Oh, give thanks. Thank you, Joseph. Amen. We give thanks to the Most High, right? So I have to be careful. Many people are busy telling me, right, about all this stuff and telling me about how this works and that works and telling me how they're going to be blessed and how much money Yah's going to give them and this and that or whatever. And I'm here to tell you, many people don't have an active ingredient in their life. Many people are ready to tell you how they're going to change the system by sending people to work for the system. And somehow the people who work for the system are going to change the system from the inside, when you're not supposed to be you're supposed to be in the system, but you're not supposed to be of it. You can't change evil by being of evil. You might have to deal with evil, but you can't be of evil to change evil. But here you are talking about, I'm gonna put people in a place where they have to do evil works and hope that evil works will get me righteous results. This is what it shows up with. This is how they taught you, right? Hey, this is something they taught you. I'm voting for the lesser of two evils. How you doing, Spike Me? Didn't they teach you that? Well, nobody's really 100%, going to be what's great anyway. So vote for the person that's the closest to what you want, so you'll get some of the things that you want. And the reality is that nothing ends up changing. How you doing, Winetta? Thanks for being on. Right? You hear? You see that? Yeah, go ahead and vote for the person who's the lesser of two evils. Last time I checked, whether you're lesser or greater, if you're evil, you're evil. How you doing, Brother Jermaine? This ain't a thing of hey, they got closer to the goal line. Hey, Shalom, Elion. This isn't okay. He got closer to the goal line. This is evil. We talking about, right? Evil is evil. He called the people who are religious leaders. Yehoshua called the people who are religious leaders. He called them hypocrites, hypocrites. You live underneath the criteria. Evil is evil. How you doing, Just? But what did they say? Well, vote for the lesser of two evils, because then that means that you'll cause change. How do I change evil? By voting for it. Come on, somebody. That's a word. How you doing, Cream? Right? Hashtag facts. Right? This ain't even facts over feeling. This is contextual facts. I don't want to give you facts without context, and I do not want to give you context without facts. Right? How do you vote for evil, whether it's the lesser or greater? How do you vote for evil and then say, I'm going to cause righteousness? That's an oxymoron. That's cognitive dissonance. That's double-minded. That's whatever, unapologetic. That's Dunning-Kruger effect. You said I don't vote. Well, you don't vote, but I'm just saying, yeah, I don't vote, but I'm just saying there are a lot of people that do, under the thought process that we're going to cause change. Matter of fact, many churches are Republican churches or Democrat churches. How you doing, Charles? How you doing, T of y'all? You see, so now a lot of the sermons that you're getting are not even kingdom services. They are United States corporation services. But that shouldn't be hard for us to see, because they're 501c3. To be 501c3, you got to sign up to the government. Well, in order to have a church of the people, the word people means nation, right? I agree with you that we should have a nation of people who believe in the same thing, who love the same thing, who honor the same thing, who walk the same ways. But you got to have a nation, which means you have to have a culture that these people subscribe to at least start talking about nation building. And if we're going to go back to the original kingdom, before we even started looking at Saul or David or Solomon and whomever, right, Absalom and all this, before we start even looking at these people and their examples and what they did that was great and not righteous, our king was always Yahweh in the first place. Well, not only are they not allowed to teach 10%, they only teach 10%, if you will, if that's the number we use. And I'm not speaking against you. I just don't know where the number comes from, so I can't go down that road with you. Not that you're wrong. I just am ignorant of what you're talking about. That being said, they can only teach you 10% a part of it, because they have to teach you a lie. See, every lie is based off truth. So it's based on a true story, but a true story, like the Harriet Tubman movie. They gave you a Harriet Tubman movie, and if you're not careful, you'll think everything in that movie was true. They gave you the movie Lincoln. If you're not careful, you think that everything in that movie was true. They had you on test, right? That George Washington was the first president. If you believe that, then you believe, you could believe that's true. There's some truth in it if you want to talk about he's the first over the change of the Constitution, but it's not the truth. How you doing, Ryan? And thanks for the compliment. Appreciate it. Shalom. How you doing, Michelle? See, so people give you truth, enough truth that they can therefore have a construct on it. If you even look up the legal term of interpretation basically means I have to know who wrote it, when they wrote it, where they wrote it, why they wrote it, what was the language they wrote it in, what was the will of the person that wrote it, etc. And then we can actually interpret it correctly, because we don't interpret it by what we want. We have to interpret it by what they want. This is actually one of the things that actually causes a lot of friction, even in political spaces, for people. A lot of people actually have these frictions that pop up. For example, somebody will say, we don't know what they meant by the Second Amendment. And so people will say, well, the founding fathers didn't know that there would be guns with this and that. The founding fathers were about that action. They didn't care, right? As this and that, as long as they could do stuff to protect themselves, which is why you see a lot of people who talk about guns rights are only people who think that they are in a position of what the founding fathers are. A lot of us don't even use the Constitution for our benefit. So we fight against the thing that should protect ourselves. They fight for it, but it's very clear what they meant. Or somebody will say, we don't know what they meant in the Constitution as far as slavery. Yeah, we do. The first 4 out of 5 presidents are Virginia slave owners. Number 2 and number 6 were father and son who worked for Virginia slave owners. Number 7 was the Tennessee slave owner, who was somebody who went to school in Virginia. Like, so we can see very clearly, like, if you want to look at the capital of the Confederacy, because overall the fight that happened with what you call the Revolutionary War of the United States, the fight that happened was actually the same fight that happened in the Civil War, which was a lot of people believed that you should have slaves. Some people believe you should have slaves through a result of capitalism, and it was capitalism versus chattel slavery. Capitalism won. Chattel slavery didn't go anywhere. It just got a rebranding and got incorporated into capitalism. Look at the 13th Amendment. 13th Amendment tells you exactly that. They didn't get rid of chattel slavery. Chattel slavery was something that is now underneath it. Now, why is that important to get? I'm trying to get you to see that because, see, you guys will now go, oh, so you're trying to say it's against black versus white. No. Catch this. It's not just as simple as black versus white. White people are enslaved when they go to prison too. They're using the same black-white thing to keep people against one another so they can have this stuff happen right under your noses. But if a white person goes to jail, if a white person goes to prison, if a white person gets arrested, what you call white person, right? Because really there's no such thing as a color white. If y'all don't know how law works, right? And if you don't know how natural law works, there's really no such thing. The color white actually means clear, bright, see-through, translucent. You can't actually see it. If you see a color, then it's not white, right? It can be lightening, it can be losing color, but until it has no color, it is not white, right? So you keep saying that's a white person. There's no such thing as a white person. Somebody had to teach you that when they were trying to teach you about purity. If you don't believe me, polar bear's fur is not white. It's clear, right? Go look it up. You think that that's white. That's not white. It reflects. Look up a white blood cell. You will not see a color. You will see it be clear, right? It is not white, does not mean what you think it means, but they changed it over enough time. And because we don't care about the actual interpretation of it, the real deal, what the word used to mean, and we're trying to change into these things people have, you see. And so now you have what they want you to have. They want you to be upset. They want you to be frustrated. Even Caucasian doesn't necessarily mean what we think white means, because Caucasian is just for those who are around the regions of the Caucasus, right? The Caucasus Mountains and other things around that area. And if you even look up what a Caucasian actually is, before somebody tried to tell you that all white people were Caucasians were actually enslaved too. Matter of fact, when it comes to eugenics, Caucasians really got it real bad. They got it so bad that now you don't even care about them. You just say any white person is them because they got murdered off. They got off just like your people got off. But we don't want to have that conversation because then we'd have to admit that, yes, people use color as something, but also there's a lot of people. Look at the Irish. Look at Bloody Sunday. Look at Free Dairy versus Londonderry. Hello again, Trey. How you doing? Right. Look at these things. You'll see very clearly what's on there. How you doing, Arnethia? Thanks for being a part of the community. So you see, there's a lot of stuff that's there together. Even when people say, I don't see color, that's foolishness. Somebody taught you that. You have a weird mindset. The Most High created color. And certain colors indicate certain things to me. If I see certain colors on an animal, I might know that's a poisonous animal. I respect it because of its color. Right? If I see a Ghanaian princess, awesome. If I see an Irish lass, awesome. That color or whatever, and what those people want and what's in their culture to be able to uphold and stuff, that's fine. There are people who are on the continent, or what you call the continent of Africa, because continent means something different than what we actually think as well. But those of you who talk about the continent of Africa, there are people who come off the continent of Africa who have blonde hair and blue eyes, and they're no less African. And I'm not talking about just somebody who's Dutch and came over. I'm talking about people that are original, that are indigenous. But you have a mindset that's not of YAH because somebody told you that. That's why we have so much colorism within ourselves. That's why we have so much stuff within ourselves. That's why you can have a Samaritan be looked down upon. You can have somebody who's right in your people, because the Samaritans were not just only Assyrians or other people that came from other places. Samaritans sometimes were people that were Israelites, but they were mixed. And since they were mixed, they called them dogs. And you still would deal with the same thing where you say because somebody's too dark skinned, like you know this. Let's keep it a buck. There's dark skinned churches and there's light skinned churches. We talk about white churches and black churches. There's light skinned churches and dark skinned churches. There's rich churches and poor churches. Matter of fact, you've gotten so great at it that now let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it a buck. You've gotten so great at it that there's Baptist churches and Methodist churches and Episcopalian churches and AME churches and Catholic churches and Roman Catholic churches. And now what we really like to do, even though these just become whole other fractions and splinters anyways, but now the non-denominational church, which really still becomes a denomination, especially when they grow and they start having their own churches and saying you're affiliated with us anyways. Crystal fascist cultists spreading the lies and myths of slavers, oppressors, and colonialist frauds. These things exist. How you doing, Day-Day? Thanks for being part of the community. You see, like all these things are there, but you go somewhere and the colorism shows up in your worship. If you got a light-skinned church and you don't think colorism shows up in your worship. If you got a dark-skinned church, you don't think colorism shows up in your worship. If you go to a black church, you don't think colorism is going to show up in your church. If you go to a white church, you don't think that colorism or even racism is going to show up in your church. How you doing, Sister Deja? If you go to an Igbo church, you think that racism or bigotry doesn't show up when somebody who doesn't look like you or speak like you shows up? I'm just trying to show you, right? What are we talking about today? Why do you not have what YAH has made? We have all these things that we carry that YAH didn't even make. Why don't you have what he made? So going back to what I was talking about when somebody got so frustrated with me, when I said, why don't you have time? Somebody went to a place of, well, you're in a privileged place. You're privileged, so that's why you have time. When I was on the street, homeless, looking for jobs, trying to take care of 3 babies, making sure they went to school, I still had to make time. I'm gonna go to school to use software, right? Try and finish up I finished up a degree that I never got. I still went to Howard Divinity and would walk there. You know, I would walk hours and hours, 8 hours a day on my feet with shoes that were messed up. Sometimes would take the shoes off because it was better to walk around barefoot. Would save the shoes so that when I showed up to my child's school, right, to be able to pick them up, they wouldn't have to be embarrassed because dad was outside with bare feet. Be embarrassed because the bus didn't want us to come on there. Like, so what situation you're in is not an indication of how much time you have, right? If YAH gave you time, he gave you time no matter what situation you're in. If you don't have time, we have to start addressing, are you in his will? Or do you want to be in his will? And if you do not, then let's just, you might want to leave the conversation from this point on. How you doing, Maxine? Right? Like I've told the people this before. I say this all the time. I believe and agree and touch and agree with you that you deserve reparations. I deserve reparations. Our people deserve reparations. I touch and agree with you. Yes. Watch this. They're not going to give it to you. And when they give it to you, it's not going to be actual reparations if you know what reparations means. They can't give you real reparations because you'd have to be a nation, and you're not trying to be a nation, and they're not going to let you. And the money they're about to release to you is not even real. They're about to start switching over to their own cryptocurrency after they told you to stop buying cryptocurrency, and now all the corporations and the United States corporation is buying up what they told you to get rid of, and now you're going to have this crypto that's only going to go through the federal government. Yeah, I see you, Ratchet. Yeah, the wages of sin, like we talked about. So you can't even talk about reparations until first you're a nation. Now watch this. Are you a nation? What nation are you on paper? Even if you're private, what are you coming together as to form? What's your paperwork? What's your belief system? What's your structure? When they give you this land that you say you're supposed to have, what are going to be the rules and regulations? That's how reparations work. If you look at how reparations were given to our people, how you doing, Sister Shima? It was 4 black pastors who were former slaves, who were part of the slaves who were following General Sherman. General Sherman has a meeting with them. He asked what they want. They said, we don't look, all the stuff that you guys have done. Hey, it is what it is. Evil happened. But look, we just want some land to teach ourselves, to walk our walk, to believe what we believe, to teach our own children. And that's how you got reparations in the first place. They said, let us be a nation unto ourselves. And you became called freedmen, which is a nation. And then what they did is they brought forth that 14th Amendment after the 13th Amendment that said if they lock you up, you're chattel slave. They started taking your land back from you. And some of you even gave it back, not knowing how stuff was, or signing contracts that you didn't know how to read. We didn't teach ourselves how to read, unfortunately, or not enough. And therefore, some people just started signing their land back. And then if you had people that were born on their land, the 14th Amendment now says that you belong to them. You're a strong man. And so now they took away your right to be a real human being. So you're not even looking at things as far as reparations. You keep talking about reparations. Well, you got to go to the nation that had stuff stolen from them. They consider the only nation that deserved reparations to be freedmen, because those were the people that were freed from their chattel slavery. We're having a bad conversation. How you doing, Sister Judith? Right? So if we go back to or are you using your time wisely? Right? So if we go back to time, you have the same, and I know it sounds like motivational speech, or it sounds like something where y'all are like, man, that's not really how it works, but it's real that I have the same amount of time as Bill Gates. I'm not saying Bill Gates and I believe in the same thing at all. I'm just telling you we had the same time. I had the same amount of time as Warren Buffett. Somebody says, well, he has money in this. I didn't say that you might have to catch up in certain things. I'm saying one thing I don't have to catch up in is time. Why do you not have what Yahweh has created, right? Yah made seasons. He made it to where the sun and the moon circle around the earth. He made it to where you have time. And time, you were not made for time. Time was made for you. Why would you not use what's made for you? Right? Why are our children acting the way that they're acting? Your children go to school. They're on somebody else's time. Your child doesn't even have time to learn who they are. This is real. Salah. It's real talk. Why do you not have what Yah has made? Can I explain Acts 5:30? It'd have to be real quick. I'm sorry to Acts chapter 5 verse 30. I'm not sure what that is off the top of my head. And even the context of it, we might be able to talk about it right now. We might not. Acts chapter 5 verse 30. Elohim of our fathers raised up Yehoshua, whom ye slew and hanged up on the tree. Okay, so that's the whole thing of, was he actually on a tree, or was he on a cross? Was he on a tav? If you know about even the word, and yeah, I won't really be able to go deep into this right now. I'll just give you some stuff for a rabbit hole real quick. If you even know what the first word of the Bible is, this is actually pretty easy to find out, right? No, it's not real quick for real. There's a lot of stuff that goes with it. But if you know the first word of the Bible is Badashat, if you know how to read in the Hebrew characters, I don't have a whiteboard with me today or anything, but if you know how to read the Hebrew characters, basically it's the first word of the Bible and the first scroll of the Bible are both the same. It's not Genesis and then in the beginning, right? Genesis is a Greco-Latin type thing talking about the genealogy. They're focusing on the genealogy of a specific family, which, by the way, they should. But that's not what it was called. It was called Barashayat, which is 6 characters long. It's Bit, Aleph, Resh, Shin, Yod, Tav. And so it means the son who comes out the right family, who's one with the Father, becomes our head, being destroyed by being led by the Holy Spirit to the Tav. Now, the Tav is the place that it's marked, the place it's finished, and what people were looking for, even when you would see the word marked, when it says Cain was marked, and when it talks about the ecclesiastical people in the Ecclesiastes were marked, it's like what you see on Ash Wednesday. They would have had a Tav. A Tav looks like a lowercase t, and it's put on its side. So if everybody keeps looking for him to be on the Tav, or the place that's marked, or the place will be finished, because that's what the word, that the character actually means, then we would be looking for something that looks like this. Right now, you would see, by the way, that makes sense, because even Yehoshua, who would have been compelled to carry his cross and then wouldn't have been able to carry it, and the African man would have helped him with it, and they would have carried it all the way, it would have been leaning to its side the whole way, the tav. And then when they would have put him up, right, they would have laid him down on it. They would have spread his hands, they would have put his feet together. They would have drilled through his feet. They would have drilled through his hands. Now, there are different types of crucifixions, to be honest with you, right? But this particular one that was done at the particular time to the people who were in that province, they would have had their hands laid out. They would have had their feet together. And then when he was put up, he would have been put up first like this. What? It would have leaned, right? And so we would have still seen the top until eventually finally it would have came into position. So for us, if you know how to even read the language of it, that's why the Bible declares in Matthew chapter 5 verse 18 on the Sermon on the Mount, we shouldn't change one jot or tittle. That means the most minuscule of measurements, or even the way it's written. If we would keep the language the same, it would be pretty easy for us to recognize how Yahushua was actually, what we were looking for in his coming, right? But that's just culturally speaking, right? But like I said, I don't have a whiteboard in front of me, but that's a little rabbit hole you can go down. But there are going to be a lot of people who are going to try to address or do this, and they say, "Cursed is any man who hangs from a tree." Sure, but also then a tav is made out of a tree. A cross would have been made out of a tree. Like people have been not just crucified but hung on different things made out of wood, right? Like there are people who were hung, in American history, and they were hung, sometimes even put on crosses, if you look at that as well. Which, if you say that we're supposed to be the chosen people going through the same afflictions, you can see that. But sometimes they were also different types of wood. But in that particular instance, if we're talking about what they would have used at that particular time, and even the description of things, then we got to look at the tav, which is a lowercase t. So I have no problem with it being a cross. But once again, why do you not, and even in that, why do you not have what Yah has made? Yah already gave us the answer. If we know the culture, if we know how to spell it out. Well, Alaham is not even Alpha and Omega. Alpha and Omega is Greek. The alphabet, which we use today, which is why we give so much leniency or credit to even the alphabet, right? We speak Anglo-ish, which is a bunch of different messages for supposed Anglo people that actually were offed by the first Anglo king, or the one that we recognize as far as William the Conqueror, who was William the Bastard. But we use the alphabet because you're still writing in Greek in a sense, right? However, the alphabet or the alphabet, it came before that. So he wouldn't even been the Alpha and Omega. He would have been what? The Aleph at Tav. Aleph, the first character, Tav, the last character. What does Aleph mean? The father, strong as an ox, able to cultivate, the source of all things. It also means the number one. And then he would be the Tav. Tav would be what? Now, here's something interesting, by the way. Holy Spirit's working now, right? Here's something interesting that I don't think I've ever even thought of before until this moment. But once again, when you know the culture, things start coming up. We know that Tav means finished. It means to be complete. It means to be marked, right? Also, right? We know this is what Yahushua would have died on, so we can talk about it being sacrificed. But also, the character Tav also represents the number 400. And isn't that interesting that you would have a people that are told that are going to be dealing with stuff for 400 years? You said they say Elohim is a Hebrew name. Well, when you say they, which they? Are we talking about even Jews? Are we talking about Ashkenazi? Are we talking about Khazarian? Are we talking about Sephardic? Are we talking about Terach? Are we talking about what was forced on certain Sephardic Jews? Are we talking about Negro land? Are we talking about Cush and Abyssinia? Right? You see what I'm saying? Like, we're getting to this place, we just go, they say. Culture is everything. And which cultural context is actually complete, and what time did the things change for what culture? Elohim is a title, exactly. Yahweh is his name. Or y'all want to argue, fine. Yahweh, Yahuwah, Yahweh, right? Yahweh, etc. And even if you say Yahweh, it should be Yahweh, but we don't pronounce those things correct, right? Because it's about what we want. But like I say all the time, it's cultural. And see, once again, what's the question we're asking today? Why do you not have what Yah has made? Well, could it be as simple as you don't have what he has made because you're not even looking at what he made? Do you not know that to be a pastor, technically, you're supposed to be Shemitic, or at least graft into Shemitic ways? That's what these days mean. These are nomadic people. You don't even know that the word Arabic does not refer to the people you're talking about now. The word Arabic just used to mean that somebody was somebody who traveled a lot. They were nomadic. Now we say Arabic because certain people who carry certain beliefs, and I'm not here to argue against my brother, right? If I come from Isaac, then Ishmael is my brother. I'm not doing that. What I'm here to tell you, though, is that we have this thing to where we forget that people have been conquered, people have changed things. That's why even if you get into your Quran, you're supposed to have another book that you're supposed to read that's filled with people who actually walk with Muhammad, because Muhammad is not as quoted in the Quran as what people actually act like. So there's another book that's filled with people such as Mansa Musa's big brother, Muhammad's youngest wife and people like that, to where you can listen to people who actually walk with him, who know what he means, and therefore you can actually say, oh, okay, this is what he might have meant by that. Versus, for example, there's a surah where it talks about if a woman gets out of control or something, you should be able to hit her with certain things or whatever. And people argue, what is that thing? But if you listen to the people who are with him, you actually know what Muhammad meant by that. So we don't have to argue about it based on what, if you're Sunni, if you're Shia, if you are somebody who's in Afghanistan, if you're somebody who's Americanized, you shouldn't have to argue it if there's supposed to be one standard for it, which is why everybody's supposed to learn the same language anyways. If we went back to that for what we say, and there was one standard for it, which is what Yehoshua the Messiah says anyways, what's what? You said, why do KKK burn crosses to show hatred for black? Why wouldn't they? It's a perversion of the word. If they pervert other things, why wouldn't they pervert that? I mean, we could ask the question, why do people turn crosses upside down and put them on their foreheads? You know, it's disrespect. When we know the culture, we know who we are. What we keep doing is making the mistake that just because you might not be aware of who you are, that the person who has you in Stockholm syndrome is not aware of who you are. If you're in Stockholm syndrome, that means the slave master, right? Master knows who you are. Master has to teach you that who you are is irrelevant, or has to make you believe that who you are is irrelevant. It was easy to make stuff happen when you said, man, I don't want to be no African booty scratcher. Some of y'all use that term. I ain't forgot. Y'all don't even know what that means. I've yet to meet an African. I guess it just means if somebody scratches their butt, but all of y'all would be African booty scratchers at some point in your life. But, and I know before somebody goes there, some of us are native. I get it. I'm mixed with both, right? But I'm just saying, hopefully you get the context. How you doing, DB? Right? But I'm just saying, people used to say all that stuff all the time. And it's like, but you didn't even think of yourself. You didn't want to think of yourself because you didn't think these things were relevant. You didn't think about Timbuktu. You didn't think about Mansa Musa. You didn't think about Queen Nzinga. You didn't think about Queen Tai, or even her son and her daughter-in-law, Akhenaten and forgive me, Akhenaten, and they always try to make her look lighter than what she is. What's her name? It'll come to me. Akhenaten and his wife, and you don't think about his little brother, Tutankhamun, and all the stuff like that. Like, you didn't think of greatness, and then you didn't think of, oh, okay, like, how did Zulu actually become the country that it did? You didn't think about, like, what was Carthage and who was Carthage and what it, how are they described, and you don't think about any of these things. You don't think about the Aleph bit because nobody told us these things. We don't have what YAH has made. How you doing, Be Real? How you doing, Mickey? I mean, if you want to go into the netures and stuff like that, but even in that, we don't comprehend how netures work. We think netures work like gods, and gods work like netures, but netures are different than gods. In Kemet, they didn't have gods, but you'll say, "What's up, God?" That's not even your culture. If you're already thinking you're a god, you don't even know how it works. And even if you want to say you're a god, trying to say you're a netur, you don't even realize that only certain people get to be gods or neturs, as we would call them for real. Right? So we're having a bad cultural conversation. You don't have what YAH has made. If we don't have that, then it's easy for somebody, if we don't even know who we are, it's easy for somebody to take your time. Thanks for sharing the live. How you doing, Michael? How you doing, Sister Patricia? We didn't pray for you, and I was thinking about that all day yesterday. We didn't pray for your children, I believe it was, yesterday. So please remind me if I forget again today. Right? But we're not in a position where we can even talk about that. We don't want to talk about monotheism versus polytheism, or should we be married to one wife, or if there are multiple wives, and why people are even saying that, and where that came from, and was it something that was even cool to do, even though it was biblically referenced? Was it something that was Yah's will, or was it something that men did, and even divorce and stuff like that? But you weren't even raised you're not even raised as a husband. How can you talk about relationships? You don't even know that you're supposed to start raising a husband from the time they're in the womb, a wife from the time they're in the womb. You think that once y'all have dated enough, maybe y'all slept with each other enough, and then once you've been forced into a position where you got to put a ring on it to keep something that makes you feel okay, then you go, okay, we'll try to figure out what marriage is. You're not even in the right place. Nefertiti, thank you. That's who I was talking about earlier. Akhenaten's wife, right? Who he kept by his side and treated as an as what y'all would call an equal, even though there's no such thing as equality, because she's not equal to him, he's not equal to her. They complete each other. They become one by realizing they're not equal. Then they realize that they have things that the other person brings to the table that are different. Then they're able to do great things. Look up even in Rome, Justinian and Theodora. Two people had to become one and realize that they could do things the other couldn't do, and then they become great. Justinian would have lost his throne. If you know who I'm talking about, Justinian would have lost his throne if it was not for Theodora. But you don't have what YAH has made. Why do you not have what YAH has made? Do you want what YAH has made? Is a question, right? You said in the Bible, doesn't it say we are all gods? Though it says, it uses a term that people, when they rewrote the Bible, because once again, in the Israelite language, there's no such word for God. But since, you see what I'm saying, culturally speaking, so we're talking about when somebody rewrote it, we could say, yeah, they said that you are little g gods, but it doesn't say that you are Elohim. It says, right, because there's only one Elohim, who's 3 in 1. Elohim means it'd be one. Elohim means 3 in 1. So even in that, if you know how to even spell out Elohim, it would be spelled Aleph, Lamed, He, Yad, Mim, which means the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit lead us in the water, blood, and spirit. One Trinity leading another, right? But since you have this concept of God, God is a Germanic term that means you can make anything a God. You can make anything you want to serve it. That's what God is. God day is good day. God morning, morning of the gods, because you're worried about the changing of the seasons and stuff. So the morning of the gods is what? Like good morning. God by, God is God, or goodbye is God be with ye. That's why it's spelled the way it's spelled. Good and God are interchangeable, right? And be for be, right? Then you have with and then y, right? Or then with and then ye, ye. God be with you. That's why you say goodbye. God be with you. But God can be whatever you want. So yes, the Bible does say that in English, but it wasn't written in English originally. It wasn't written in Greek, Latin initially. It was written in Greek initially. It was written in Avda, or what you call Hebrew initially, and Paleo Hebrew. And if you read Paleo Hebrew, you will discover what it says. So do I believe the Kemetic people like the ones with huge names of fallen angels because they say, some people try to make that liking to the stuff. I think that there are some things that are written on walls about fallen angels, and not just Kemetic culture, but in many different cultures. Even if you want to look at stuff like Heracles, which is Greek, or if you talk about Hercules, which is Roman, but different things like that, where people are talking about stories of fallen angels, and not just fallen angels, but really the fallen angels' children. Right? Because people would have known these stories. These stories would have survived through Noah and his family, and you would have had people discuss this, and then there would be writings that we would find or whatever to talk about them. So some of these people are explained in different ways. Do I know for sure? There'll be some people that say we have to know for sure. This is what it is. I don't have that answer for you. I'm just being honest with you. I don't have that answer for you. Okay, glad you made it safely, sis. Can I explain adultery in the shortest way possible? Well, adultery basically, so adultery is an interesting thing. It's hard. Once again, when people say the shortest way possible, we're talking about a culture. So it's hard to start. Like, for example, in our culture, sex is marriage, marriage is sex. You don't get married till you have sex. You don't have sex till you're married. And if you have sex and you're not qualified for it, like you got to have a driver's license to be qualified to get behind the wheel of a car, right? And really, technically, traveling is different than driving. By law, you can travel anywhere, but driving, you have to have a license. Now, why you have to have a license to drive? You have to have a license to drive because driving basically means you are employed by somebody else. So by getting a driver's license, you saying that everywhere I go, I'm employed by the state that I'm in. Right. So, but you have to get that license to get behind the car. You see what I'm saying? So I could easily be like, oh, yeah, you just get a driver's license. But there's a reason why you're licensed. And the reason why you're called a driver is different than a traveler. Right. Um, but it's the same thing. You got to have a license to drive. You have to have a license to do hair. You have to have a license to cut heads. You have to have a license to give tattoos. You have to have a license to, you have to be licensed to do plumbing. But for some reason, we don't believe that you have to have training, right? Because we have training for all those other things that are licensed, but we feel like we don't need training for the license of marriage. But see, in our culture, marriage is not even licensed unless you're qualified for it. So it's a whole different thing, right? We talk about it quite often. It'll probably pop up at some point later on, but I'm just trying to tell you, it's not as simple. It's difficult to talk about. We have to be very surface level on a lot of this on a lot of these conversations. because a lot of people don't want to go in depth, you know, into what is culturally necessary. Like, for example, even to be married, for you, being married is walking down the aisle. I'm not saying you individually, but you as a group, listen to me right now. How you doing, Brother Dwayne? You as a group have been taught what? That marriage is about walking down the aisle. Like, if you think about two people being married, y'all usually think about being in some kind of venue, usually a church, but some kind of venue. There's going to be people seated. There's going to be people on the bride side, guests on the groom side, and all that. And what do? Yes, the bride's gonna walk down the aisle. He's gonna wear a tux. There's gonna be a white dress, all that, right? Now, question for you: where do you find that in your Bible? Not saying anybody's bad. Not saying if you did that, you don't deserve to be married. No, I'm just trying to ask a question, right? You won't find it anywhere, right? So it's hard to talk about some of this stuff. You see what I'm saying? Because our mindset is, because I've seen it done. Now, you don't realize that you just followed what Queen Victoria did, and supposedly she was supposed to be a virgin and chaste, as she wore white for purity and all that, because she was a pure white woman, and therefore she wore what she was, and therefore, and all this stuff. And so they made a tradition, and you follow it, or even jump in the broom, is because you weren't really allowed to be married, so you would sneak it. So some people won't even jump the broom during their marriage, or they might, but they might even have a broom somewhere. Matter of fact, to be honest, my wife and I had one of ours. We didn't jump over it, but we had one that was there, right? We didn't want to jump over because we were like, our marriage is not going to be something that we're going to have to hide. We're going to be, but that was what we had to do back in the day. You wore your best stuff that you could wear real quick and hope the master didn't see y'all. You had a few people that came together. You got together, you jumped over the broom real quick, and then, hey, if somebody came by, it was real simple. You could pick up the broom, act like you was sweeping. Ain't nothing going on here, right? You was doing your work, but you had a marriage. You could sneak it in there real quick. So, right? So a lot of our thought process culturally on marriage is not accurate in any way, shape, or form as far as what Yah wants us to have. Right? A lot of our mindset on marriage is about finances only. That's why most marriages, at least in the West, most divorces are going to happen, like 70, 80% of them, maybe even 90% of them. I forget what the newest statistics show, but it can be because of no income or lack of income. So when you say, what is adultery? Adultery is different. See, for most people, you say adultery means that you have two married people that slept with each other. And it has to be a physical thing as well. But in the Bible, it's explained by your Messiah. Matthew chapter 5, verses 27 through 32. He tells you that the standard is, if you've committed adultery in your heart, you've already committed it. But he also uses a term called fornication, which we don't get as well, right? Now, fornication, I usually like to use the Greek connotation of it because it helps you to see it better. In the Greek, the word fornication that they're using there to describe an Israelite word, the Greek word they're using there is pornea or porneia. I'm not sure which way you pronounce it. I think it might be pornea, but either way, pornea or porneia. Either way, it's what we get the word pornography from, right? So the word pornography means what? The word pornography means what? The word pornography, right? Well, actually, even brooms, if you look at it, people that are down south and black folk from down south, and I got Ken, matter of fact, there's some people I could probably yell and ask to yell back if they wanted to. I could probably ask them to come on and tell you from their own experience, like, and I'm talking about cats that are from places grew up with just dirt roads, and still just have dirt roads in those areas. If you ask those cats about a broom, like, for example, if you sweep on somebody's feet, oh, that's a problem. You don't sweep somebody's feet. Like, I don't mind it because I didn't grow up with that as a tradition, but you don't sweep somebody. Like, the broom is not this great thing. Or if a bird comes in there, you might want to try and hit the bird with the broom, right? Though, so that whole broom thing, once again, is not what we think it is. Matter of fact, think about brooms. You think about brooms with witches and stuff. Brooms are stuff that's, for dirty things. Broom are things that come with to get rid of things, but they're dirty already. A lot of you have a broom that's for the inside. You got a broom that's for the outside, right? Brooms come with some, anyway, everything has culture attached to it. But anyways, right? Well, you can call it superstition, but the same thing as jumping over a broom, right? What I'm trying to say is that superstition or that tradition is not in the Bible. That's what I'm basically trying to say. Like, walking down the aisle is not in the Bible, right? That was more the point. But getting back into what we were saying, how you doing, NRS? How you doing, Sister Nancy? Um, see all this stuff now. Where we? Oh, adultery. So there's another word that pops up in that passage of scripture, Matthew chapter 5, verse 27 through 32, called adultery. That word in the Greek is porneia or porneia. That's where you get the word pornography from. Porneia or porneia, or what we now deem as fornication, is simply a false image of marriage. How you doing? One underscore ikadash, right? It's a false image of marriage. Pornography existed before people were painting it. Pornography existed before you had video. Pornography existed before there was an internet. Pornography is simply a false image of marriage. So when people talk about fornication, they don't want to talk about, they go into all this stuff where they start telling you, well, fornication is just when you have sex, period. No, no, no. Fornication is when you have a false image of marriage. It can be in one's head, sure. So you think about the act and you can already be in a place where you're committing adultery. That's a false image of marriage in your head, but also a false image of marriage. Once again, you're walking down the aisle. Watch this. A lot of people, it's not as much a tradition, but it's still traditional where a lot of people will have walked down the aisle. And what do you hear when you walk down the aisle? You hear da 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 da, right? Right, all that stuff. And you'll even hear the words that have been put on in English. Here comes the bride, all dressed in white. Or they'll say, here comes the bride, all fat and white. But you know why they say that? Because that song is actually a comedic song. You know that, right? It's from a play and it's a comedy and they're making fun of marriage. But once again, you have a tradition that you carry that don't even realize that this is a false image of marriage all the way around. Go look it up. Go look up that song I just said if you don't believe it. Right? That song is about somebody making fun of marriage. But how many people walk down the aisle to that and then try to figure out why is there a spirit or feel like something's spoken over their marriage and they can't figure out how to make this thing work right? Like people don't even know this. Some people are just like, I really want that song because I want it to be a traditional marriage. I want the pomp and circumstance. That doesn't have nothing to do with marriage. That song is anti-marriage. How you doing, Dion? How you doing, Shaba? That song is anti-marriage. If you hear that at a wedding, you need to realize that there's something being spoken over it. If you're married and you go to a wedding and you hear that song, you probably want to vacate the premises at least till that song finishes or put some earplugs in. My greatness. Scratching my fingers up trying to open this can up. I'm just saying we have a lot of stuff that we're doing and it's not even there's no YAH in it. How many people do you know that want that song or got married to that song? I'm not saying I know a lot of our folk we want to go and get this special song but you know how many people had R. Kelly song? How many people had this? How many people had that? I'm just saying, like, we have these weird things that we're fascinated with. And we want these ceremonies and things. But once again, it's easy to see why we don't have what YAH made. How you doing, Forever Young? How you doing, Overcomer? The question for today is, why do you not have what YAH made? What in your family, in your culture, in your lifestyle, in your traditions, in your land, etc., right? In your community, in your environment, what is there to ensure that every time you do something, it is of the will of YAH? What safeguards do you have to ensure that everything that's done today, tomorrow, yesterday, from henceforth, forever, and more, what do you have in place to ensure that everything you do, how you doing, Cassie, is of the will of the Father? How you doing, Gregoria? Not some things, everything. Right? We have the word, right? What do we have in our environment that's going to cause the word to be permeated in everything? See, this is when it gets difficult because You can't talk to a lot of Christians about this stuff because they get mad at you when you say that you can't have a Yule log for Christmas, because Yule logs are dealing with Odin and not the word of Yah. People get mad at you when you talk about mistletoe, because mistletoe is not some cute thing that you just kiss under. Mistletoe is what they had sex under. They get mad at you when you say be careful about singing stuff like the 12 days of Christmas, because at the 12 days of Christmas you were supposed to switch places with people. Y'all see, people don't even study stuff. See, I'm not even talking about just the pagan style and hundreds of years ago. I'm talking about stuff that was happening 100 to 200 years ago still. Definitely can't go any further than 300, 400 years ago, but I'm talking about out and blatant. But see, that's why people don't have a problem, doing stuff in church that is weird during Christmas. Why? Because during Christmas, 12 days of Christmas, you're supposed to switch place. So there are tons of stories. Matter of fact, that's why they outlawed Christmas in the territories that were formed in what you call the United States of America when the Puritans came over, because as evil as some of the stuff the Puritans did, they thought that it was wild that preachers, this is stuff that you can look at accounts of and read for yourself, that there were pastors and preachers and priests who would become prostitutes for those 12 days, and prostitutes that would preach sermons, because you were supposed to switch. It comes from Saturnalia. During times of Saturnalia, you can read for yourself. Saturnalia, winter solstice, all that. Those who were supposed to switch. That's why the story of Scrooge is such a huge story, because Scrooge was so scary that he wouldn't switch places and allow people who were poor to be able to get what he wanted. So Scrooge is, for a lot of people, they'll be like, well, some of the stuff in Scrooge is scary, I guess, but see, you don't think about the timeline. So for you, you're like, well, it doesn't really make sense. Why is he that scary? So it's not a big deal for you. You kind of like, maybe some of you maybe saw the Jim Carrey movie. Maybe some of you read the book and your imaginations ran. Maybe you thought that the ghosts are kind of scary as far as this, that, whatever. But you don't realize and recognize that the story of Scrooge is really scary for them, because Scrooge himself had to be this very vicious, demonic type person if he wouldn't switch places with anybody. Because when they would sing what you call Christmas carols, now Christmas carols are light and all this stuff, but back then, if somebody was singing a Christmas carol, it would usually be young men who would walk around, and they would sing it as a threat coming up on the 12 days of Christmas, letting people know that if you won't switch out what you're supposed to, we'll come and we'll beat you up. That's what the songs were. You can research it. These songs used to be set up to where they would sing songs about, we're going to come in your house, and we're going to drag you out, and we're going to beat you down. And so when you heard these carols coming around that time, you knew the 12 days of Christmas was coming up, and it was a reminder that, hey, I need to do something to appease these people, where they think that I'll let them go ahead and feel like they're me for a little bit. That's what the Christmas carols came from. That's why you did it. That's why now they go door to door. They went door to door. They walked around and they sung it so that everybody was very clear that if you don't get this stuff in order, we will whoop you know what. If you don't get this thing in order, we will come by and we're going to tear you up, because we don't have time for play. Christmas is coming. It's going to be 12 days where, look, we got to be no vacation, this, that, whatever, the whole year. At least you guys could do is give us 12 days straight of being able to go ahead and be like you guys. That's what that was. Now it's turned to, I don't even remember the lyrics. The 12 days of Christmas, my true love gave to me a partridge in a pear tree, right? And all this stuff, and 5 golden rings, and 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves. I don't know what the rest of it is. I done forgot, right? But when you were doing it, that's what you were doing. That's what you were singing. You were going around. That's what the Christmas carol was for. How you doing, Sister Barbara? And that's what it was for. How you doing, Robert? And so they did these things, right? They did these things all over the place. They made this stuff happen all over the place. How you doing, Seashells? They made this stuff happen all over the place. And we're trying to figure out, why are we so messed up, right? Can't even introduce that to somebody, let alone the fact that your Bible tells you in Jeremiah chapter 10, verses 1-5, about making idols out of these trees. I mean, it clearly states in there, don't be afraid of the changing in the seasons like the pagans are. Don't go into the woods, right? This is winter solstice. Don't go into the woods and chop down a tree. Don't bring it into your house. Don't nail it so it stands straight up, right? Don't paint it silver and gold. I mean, clear as day. Don't make an idol out of this thing. And it was an idol because people thought they were bringing something that was alive in. They would look for evergreen trees. That's why most of you like pine trees. You would look for evergreen trees and you would bring it into your house, and it was supposed to be something that was evergreen. When the evergreen tree, though, began to to lose its life and its luster, and it began to lose its leaves, what do? You take it out the house. That's why you're not supposed to have your Christmas tree up for so long. Even people who have fake ones up, you're not supposed to have it up for so long. Yeah, or don't be a part of the world like this. But this is stuff that we're still doing. These are things that we're still into. So why do you not have, or why do you not have what YAH has made? Why do we not have what YAH has made? YAH said, I fearfully and wonderfully made you, but you don't feel wonderful, and you're afraid of everything. Why do you not have what YAH has made? Somebody got mad when we started this and got us into a whole other discussion, which I praise y'all for, right? No problem, right? But somebody got mad and said that I was privileged because I said that we should be working on getting more time. Somebody says you're privileged because you have time. Everybody today, you have 24 hours. And do you not know that you could tithe your time? 2 hours and 12 minutes. What would you do with 2 hours and 12 minutes? How you doing, MIT Jelani? You said, how does one redeem yourself? Well, we don't need to redeem ourselves. We've already been redeemed if we believe in Yahshua HaMashiach and his sacrifice, right? So once you've been redeemed, the word deem, by the way, means to consider. So if I've redeemed or reconsidered something, then I've been reconsidered by the Most High. So being reconsidered or redeemed as powerful and great is not the problem. The problem is now that I've been redeemed, what will I do to make sure that I can do what I'm considered to be worthy of, right? So going back to time, what are you willing to do for 2 hours and 12 minutes every day to make sure that what Yah has deemed for you or deemed you for can be completed? Because he that began this great work in you shall make sure that it is completed. He didn't start what he didn't think could be finished. Now, maybe you don't have what Yah said you would have because it's not time for you to have it. So watch this. Are you making room for your gift in the meantime? Thanks for being part of the community, Vernon. Appreciate it. Okay. All right. All the stuff about the yelling and stuff. We straight. We straight. Okay. So, right. But I'm just saying, like, you hear what I'm saying? Like, what is it that's causing you to say that I don't have enough time? See, all right. I won't put the person's, well, there's tons of people I deal with this, but I'll be very careful on how I say this. Um, you can't, you cannot. So watch this. There are people who say that they want their children to do well in life. How much time are you willing to put into that? Somebody says, well, I have to do this, I have to do that, I got to work here, I got to blah, blah. Like, how much time do you put into your child's well-being? Somebody says, well, when I go to work, that's putting into, your child's going to be sent to school. This is the trick of the enemy, is we've signed away from who we're supposed to be. You hear what I'm saying? That's a trick of the enemy. How much time are you putting in? I don't care if the child thinks something's wrong with you. My child is older, Pastor Kofi. You don't get it. They're older. Okay, look, maybe you can't teach them exactly the same as you would. Maybe they're older, so you got to come a certain way. Maybe you can't just pull out a belt and say, do what I say. And by the way, you probably shouldn't have done that in the first place as the only alternative or without any other alternative. But that being said, what are you, how much time? Right? Because watch this. What if time's not guaranteed as far as on this side of Zion for you to sow into the child? Yah gave you time. He gave you the child. He gave you license to have the child. He gave you license to take care of him. How much time are you using to influence them positively? Or even some of you influence negatively. Just because you have time doesn't mean you influence positively. But I'm just going to make the assumption. I know what they say about people that assume. I even said it earlier. But I'm going to dare to assume that you, right? I'm going to dare to assume that you would treat your child in a positive fashion. How much time are you willing to put in? Watch this. Some of you need to just be an example that maybe your child has never seen. For some of us, it might be that simple. For some of us, it just might be, I need to look, my child might have seen me wilding out. My child might have seen me going to the club. I might have been going to the club with them. My child might have seen me saying it was okay for them to be the man of the house at 5 years old. My child might have seen me tripping. My child might have seen me divorced. My child might have seen me having multiple relationships and never making them work. My child might have seen me dating, and bringing people in the house. Even if I wasn't being sexual with them, they kept seeing boyfriends and girlfriends and stuff, whatever. I might need to show my child that it's possible for me to change. And that comes not from confirmation, but that comes from transformation. That comes not from conforming, that comes from transforming. Right? I'm not conformed to the things of this world, but I've been what? Transformed through the renewing of my mind, not just my brain, my mind. Right? Not just my gut, my mind. Not just the way I walk, my mind. Not just if I'm feeling it, my mind. Not just if my heart's not in it, my mind. Yeah, when the head changes, so does the body. Yeah. If I can get this to where I am the person who's over this household, so to speak, if I change, my family's going to change just because they have to. But what happens is we go, well, so and so's in my house, they're a grown person. It's your house. As for me and my house, how you doing, RMN? Thanks for being on. This is mine, right? I've been given stewardship over this. And I'm gonna be faithful over a few things, including my house. The word house in Hebrew also doubles for the word family, familia, in Kiswahili, or some of you would say in Espanol, right? So the familia, the house, this is not up for debate in this house. Now we can somewhat debate over certain things because debate technically is supposed to come with rules and stuff. But there are certain things where, look, this is the way it is. And if you're going to live here, you're going to live here because of these standards. And if you're not going to follow the standards, then I'm sorry, but you've got to go. And everybody's so quick to try and tell you why people shouldn't have to live by standards. You better live by standards in this house. Who do you think you are? Excuse me. Is anybody else having problems with the signal? Okay. On TikTok. Okay. All right. So I'm just saying at some point, what am I willing to do? Nobody would listen to me. YAH didn't create you that everybody would listen to you. Wait a minute. No. I'm giving the word of YAH. Everybody might hear it, but not everybody gonna see. What's the difference between somebody who hears and listens? This is a debate, right? Allow me to just go ahead and put my 2 cents on this, right? That's gonna be based off of the word of YAH. If the shoe fits weird, if it doesn't, take it off. Take the meat, spit out the bone. This is Kofi just kind of using the word of YAH and just saying, because what you guys say is, well, there's hearing means this and listen to this. The word of YAH says this: let those who have ears to hear what the Spirit's saying. If you hear what the Spirit's saying, the reason why it's saying that is also because that means you got to do something. Be not hearers of his word only, but make sure you're not just hearers, but doers as well. When somebody hears and does, they really heard it. When somebody hears and will not do, they're just listening. You see, a lot of people will hear what you have to say. A lot of people will listen to what you have to say, but a lot of people won't hear it. Or maybe, if I don't know, some of y'all would reverse it in your mind. I don't keep it that way. Some of you would reverse it in your mind, right? But the Bible says, let those that have ears to hear. So hear it, right? But you got to even have a mindset. You have to have ears to hear. So now YAH says, not everybody's body, not everybody's maturity, not everybody's grown to a level to where they can hear. A lot of people can listen, but a lot of people can't hear. Hear and do means that you heard it. When you hear and do not do, you might just be listening. right? Hear and do. If I say, son, I need you to do da 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 da, and he says one thing but doesn't do the rest, or it takes an hour to do it, or I come back and he's still sitting in the same place, maybe watching something or maybe on a game or something, what are we doing? Right? My question is not going to be, were you listening? My question is really going to be, son, did you hear me? That's my first question. And he might say, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I heard it. You were listening, but you didn't hear. See, when you have ears to hear, you move. Why don't we have what Yah has made? Sometimes it's because you've listened, but you haven't heard, or you listened, but you didn't have ears to hear. So you can listen to something and never have the right ears. You can never have the right ability. See, in the ears is what? Inside the ear, you have the ear canal. So that means that you have to have a certain shape and function to it, but you also have an eardrum. The eardrum is what gives you the vibration. The vibration, when you hear it, is ultimately what's going to lead to the brain to be able to say, this is what somebody's saying to me. And the first place you have to be able to hear is on the inside. Because when I speak a word, the first person to hear it is me, not only physically through the vibration, but also in my heart, to my mind, to my mouth, right? To the vocal cords, and eventually a vibration to the ear. It has to sound right to me first before I even speak it. It has to sound right on the inside first before it can even be digested on the outside by somebody else. You said there's the front door if somebody's acting wrong. Yeah. Right. So many people will listen to something because they don't have the ears to hear it. I get that every day I come on here, there will be somebody who will listen and will be that's why you ever noticed there's a lot of people who listen and are always ready to tell you why you're wrong, and it's as if they're not even going to hear anything you said. You ever dealt with that, where there are people who will listen, they will listen to you talk, and usually it's people that are close to you, right? They'll listen to everything you have to say, but they already have, you can tell that as soon as you finish talking, they weren't hearing you. They weren't trying to digest. They weren't trying to empathize. They weren't trying to even see where you're coming from. They can't really repeat what you said. They're just ready to tell you why you're wrong. This is one of the things that's going to be difficult for you the higher you go up. Right? The more that you lead people. You said your family. Yeah, a lot of our families can be like that. This is why it's going to be harder as you go up and Yah has something for you. And when you have more people and your business grows and you got to have partnerships, you have to have people that are going to be team members and stuff like that. It becomes difficult when you go to the next level and anything, because you'll find out a lot of people now, they've already have preconceived notions of the position you're in, let alone of the person you are. And so they're listening more so than they're hearing. Sometimes you don't get the promotion, not because they just hate you. Sometimes you don't get the promotion because you don't hear very well. See, watch this. If you're going to be in a higher position of authority and you work for a company, they have to trust that you're going to hear what the authority says, what the owner says, what the manager says, what the district manager says, what the regional manager says. They trust that you hear what they hear, even when they're not there. I don't want to talk about that. There's a man who's not even an Israelite. His friend is sick. He comes to the Messiah, right? He says, I'm not worthy for you to even come in my house. But he says, all you have to do is speak a word, because I know how authority works. He says, the same way that it works with me, it works with you. He said, if Caesar speaks a word, come on, somebody. Hallelujah. If Caesar speaks a decree, even if Caesar's not here, I have to hear the decree. And I have to make sure that I follow the decree the way that he would if he was here, because I have to act here as if I hear wherever he is. Did you catch that? Holy Spirit giving you a bar today. I have to act here the same way, right? I have to act here, or I have to adhere. I have to listen. I have to hear even as if that person was here. Even though he's in Rome, I have to be in tune. It's just not reading it and saying this. I have to know Caesar to a certain degree. I have to know what he likes. His dislikes are certain things. So when I see something written down, I know to myself that this is exactly what he would do if he was here. And once I can do that, now I am authorized. I'm a man of authority here because I'm a man of authority when I hear. Right. And a lot of people are so busy trying to be like, I'm gonna help this person, I'm gonna do. A lot of you guys are trying to help organizations, you're trying to do stuff on your job, you're trying to do whatever, and you don't hear what they hear. Now sometimes it's because it might not be righteous, it might not be a place that's for you to be there that long, whatever. It could be many things. But see, a lot of us don't realize that you're not hearing what they hear. If I don't hear what the boss is saying, even when the boss is not there, then I'm not supposed to be the manager. I'm not supposed to be the assistant manager. I'm not supposed to be thought of for it, because they need to know that when they're gone, I'm see. Watch this. Let's go to when I was closing up, doing line, doing line restaurant, closing up there, right? Making $7.25 an hour, got up to $7.50 an hour. They paid me a $1 raise. I was making $8.50 an hour to be able to close for them. They're getting them $1 to $2 million a year of the people who owned it, right? $1 million store. And what they wanted to make sure was that if I'm going to help them to reach their $2 million a year, guess what? They had to trust that I was going to operate the same way as if they weren't there. They would even say, hey, here's my number. Call me if you need something. The manager, here's my number. Call me if you need anything. I started working 2 jobs, managing 2 different places, had 2 jobs. So basically I was making, well, the other place paid more. I think I went up to ended up getting like $10 in one place and $10.50 another place, right? Working all day, not able to get overtime, right? But in essence, really working for the same company. But since it was two owners of the same chain, they really wouldn't give me, what it is that I deserve. But they had me working both places because I was actually teaching one place how to be place. So I get it, right? And that's a place where literally my body broke down, my spirit kind of broke down a lot of stuff. So I get it. People just be thinking I'm randomly talking. I have no clue as to what I'm talking about in the workforce, right? Still feeling like a slave, right? But I'm here to tell you the reason they trusted me in 2 different places, even though my life was falling apart. But they knew that when I was there, I would hear as they heard. And even if I didn't like what I had to tell a customer, and most of the time they gave me license to be able to treat customers with a whole lot of respect. But even if it came time to, I know the customer's not going to like that I have to tell them this, but I'm going to tell them this because I got to do what they said. Or even if I know, man, it would be really easy to just take this $20 and be able to write it off as this that nobody might know, right? I still was going to treat it correctly. They knew that if I was going to send somebody to make sure that they made that they took the money to the bank, I was going to take somebody that was trustworthy. Right. I heard as they heard, they've hired a lot of people. At one of the places I was at, they hired a lot of people that were, drug users and were coming out of a program trying to get their lives together. Right. But I was able to hear the way that they heard. And so they said, we'll go ahead and give you a little more position. And I'm just trying to say that's obviously, I don't want you to feel like you're a slave and having to work crazy hours and get little pay for the rest of your life. I'm just trying to tell you that there are certain principles that we don't recognize. Once again, the question that we're asking today is what? Why do you not have what YAH has made? Could it be possible that YAH has been saying, I made this for you? Watch this. 70% of what you're going to see today is stuff that you can eat off of. But we keep talking about I can't afford food. Why do you not have what YAH has made? Some of these things we complain about are not even in his will for us to complain about. It's not in his will for us to even think is problematic. How you doing, Robert? Thanks for being part of the community. You hear what I'm saying? Some of the stuff that we're saying is not in his will is things that he doesn't even want. Like he doesn't even want you to think is problematic. How do you not have food when 70% of what you're going to see today can be considered in some way, shape, or form to be food? This is a bounty. There's not one thing out here, right? Well, I won't say there's not anything. There's always a chance that something's there. You got to know so be careful. You got to know what you're eating, right? Of course, right? This is for educational purposes only. But there's very few things out here, including the bark, to the grass, to the clovers, to the pine, to whatever. There's very few things out here that you could not eat. But we say what? How you doing, Brother Henry? But we'll come on here and we'll say, man, I don't have money for food. He gave you food before there was a such thing as money. Oh, that's a bar right there. Come on, Holy Spirit. Hallelujah. Come on, Holy Spirit. Before there was a such thing as money, there was a such thing as food. How do you not have enough money for food? Thank you for the love. Appreciate it. Come on, somebody. Before there was money, there was food. How do you not have enough money for that which existed before money? See how somebody's messed you up? Why do you not have what Yah has made? I don't have a marriage. I don't have a successful marriage. Yah says, I am your husband. How do you not have marriage when I made you and then said that I married you? Before there was the physical husband, I had already made you. Matter of fact, before I made earth, I knew you. Before you were formed in the belly, I knew you. Why do you not have what Yah has made? Why? Why? I wonder if we were to be honest about take honest assessment. Why is it you don't have what Yah has made? TikTok, you guys are going to come back in a second, okay? I'm just being obedient to what the Holy Spirit is telling me to do. Hold on. TikTok, you guys will be back in a second. You know, real talk though, why don't we have what Yah has made? Why? I wonder why. Could it simply be because we're not obedient? Like there's not a thing that I don't have the access to. That's what I'm really trying to get you, if it's Yah's will. And there's some things that he doesn't want me to have access to. But if it's for me, no. Let me say it correctly. There's certain things he doesn't want me to have access to. However, if he has something that is for me, that's paradigm shift, right? If it's for me, then it is for me. Now we say that. However, are we willing to work that? How long have you made room for what Yah has told you? How many times have you developed your gift? Everybody's a preacher, but nobody studies apologetics, hermeneutics, homiletics. Everybody's a kingdom citizen, but nobody goes to any classes to learn what monarchy is because you've been living in a falsified democracy. You know, democracy is not even in your constitution. But everybody's ready to tell you how the Constitution works, but you keep talking about a democracy. It's not even in there. You keep saying that there are things that are there that are not even real, but you don't have what Yah has made. How you doing, Alonda? Thanks for being on. In New York, right? I believe. I was actually going to try and reach out the other day, didn't have time to. I think you're in New York. We got a lot of people up in your area. But why do you not have what Yah has made? Yeah, we got to work on those hearing skills. Yah has already. Yah has already said. I mean, I don't know how many ways you can just continue to repeat what he said. He said, "Be fruitful." That means you're full of fruit. He said, "Multiply," but you keep talking about why you can't even add things up. And why is there division in your life? And why are there people around that keep subtracting? You don't look for people that multiply. You don't even try to multiply. You keep trying to say you should just be all right with where you are. It's just so interesting at the sound enhance when we need to hear. Right? All these different things. Like it's wild that we're in this position where we're not trying to hear what Yah says, and we're not trying to hear what He has already told you. He's already put something inside of you. You hear it so often that it's it's almost some people are almost depressed because they never see manifestation of what they've heard. Some of you have heard for so long that you're going to be um, some of you have heard for so long that you're going to be financially independent. And what you heard and what you start doing is you start listening to the world. And look, I'm not saying do not study any of the stuff that they're saying, but hear what I'm saying. You keep studying this person, that person, how they made it, how they got these riches, how they paid this, how they started this company. This person cusses at everybody, but at least they make money. This person, was a drug dealer that was able to make it once they drug dealed and stuff. And you're going to be like them. And look, like, what if you're going to do it the way Yah said do it? One of the reasons why it's difficult to really like put stuff on me the way that people want to try to put on me, real talk, is because I didn't get here. And look, I got here. I hope you get this right, because I appreciate your help. I appreciate what you guys do for my family. I appreciate what you all do for each other. and how you lift each other up and love on each other and communicate with each other and all that stuff. How you meet up with each other, whether I'm there or not. How you guys are going to come and meet up at the meetup in September. How you guys met up in Detroit. How you guys have met up in South Carolina and North Carolina and many different places. I've been all over the place. I appreciate it in Cali, all this stuff in Texas. You guys are awesome, right? Chicago, etc. You guys are awesome. Don't get this twisted, but I'm here to tell you that I got where I am because y'all led me there. You can't really control that. That's why I tell people I don't have control. People are like, you need to control this and control that and blah. I'm not in control of anything. Y'all is. Now he's uses me as a vessel and means to control things for sure. And I'm not saying I have no accountability. Hear what I'm saying? I'm not in control. There are some things that I wish I could like see. Look, I can tell you principles, I can give you tools to help you on your journey. But for real, and this is the part where people get upset. This is when the person was trying to say I'm privileged, right? Um, this is where people get upset. I get it that people want me to kind of like either fix everything for them or people want you to sometimes do everything for them, but and people want you to tell you 100% this is how it's going to work. I can't tell you some of the stuff that YAH has done for my family and I. How you doing, Sierra? Some of the stuff that YAH has done for my family and I cannot. It doesn't make sense in the natural. And this is when people say, "You losing me now, Pastor Kofi." So you acting like, "Well, no. I'll help you out with how to look at things financially, what investing looks like. I'll talk about, if you can give 10% to the kingdom, why not give 10% to yourself? I'll show you how to get past some of those things. We'll sit there with you. We'll go over righteous eating habits, all that. There are some things that need to make sense, but there is some times where it's a miracle." You know what I'm saying? And there's some things where I can't explain. Look, it doesn't make sense to me that somebody who had the book thrown at him at multiple charges was put in a prison and was put in a place to where they thought that they would literally they put me on there in a place on purpose where they thought they would take my life. There were 19-year-olds walking around in there with 120 something years for two separate charges. In other words, they had 120 years for this and 120 years for that. And that was the 19-year-olds. Those were the ones that were just getting started in what you might call evil. And how somehow, some way, how that guy who nobody cared about, who was on YouTube and nobody was listening to, who was on TikTok and was doing well, and they kept taking his stuff down, and then he was told by the Most High, don't even do what got you where to people to listen to you. I want you to start doing stuff where it's going to be hyper focused on scripture. It was focused in scripture before, but now it's just kingdom only. And somehow, some way, you're going to be able to take this and reach people, and you're going to be able to grow, and I'm going to take care of you as a Levite and all this. Like there's a certain time where it's just, I put the time in, I put the work in, I put the effort in. And even still, when I look back at it, I just know, he had to increase. I might have planted the seed. I might have watered the seed. But at some point, he gets the glory because he gives increase. How you doing, love? Thanks for being on. Right? He at some point in time, he gets the increase. You hear what I'm saying? At some point in time, he gives the increase. Excuse me. And there's going to be something. Why do I have what YAH has? There has to be. I say this all the time in reverse, but now let me reverse it. I say all the time, hey, you have faith, but you don't have the works to go with it. Watch this. You can have all the works, but at some point, it's got to be married into the faith. Like, I have works, but at some point, there's some things that YAH has shown me and still has shown me where I'm like, I don't know how this is going to happen. I'm just be honest with you. I'm not aware. The only thing I know is that I know you, and I know that you can do anything but fail. And if you showed me this, even if I'm not going to be the one to secure it, I'm not going to be the one to see it. It doesn't mean that it cannot be done. Right? That's why even if I'm only building up the materials that the next generation is coming up, then let it be. See, because the next generation is tender. They're unprepared. David said, my son Solomon is tender. He's unprepared. So he said, because he wanted to build the temple, but there was too much blood on his hands. He was not allowed to build what it is that he saw. He knew the necessity of it, but he could not build what was necessary. However, he got the materials together so that when somebody was coming behind him, was in position, they could build what was necessary. He could get what the person was unprepared to get, but he could not build what the unprepared person would need him to prepare. Amen. You got to be quiet sometimes and still and listen and learn. Yeah. Thank you for the love, right? Like some of you even are saying, I don't see it. I've been doing this, I've been doing that. Right? Watch this. Proverbs 13:22. The wealth of the wicked is laid up for the just. Read the first part of it. It says that you got to start thinking about the generational wealth. If you start doing stuff for your children's children, then why would you start seeing stuff manifest for yourself? But you keep talking about it's not showing up for me. And if it doesn't show up for me, how am I going to take care of my children? You need to start making sure you're building into your grandchildren so that you'll start thinking of your children different, so that then you'll start thinking of yourself different. It's a different thing. See, this is the eternal principle. In order for my grandchildren to be taken care of, that means my child must be doing well. In order for my child to be doing well, that must mean their parent is doing well. In order for the parent to be doing well, that means that the child has to be doing well. In order for the child to be doing well, that means the grandchild has to be doing well. Then Yah says, let's have a conversation about the wealth of the wicked. Because the wicked do that more than you and I. Thank you again for the love. Appreciate it. See, now let's have a conversation because you think it's generational wealth. Why is it that the person who's got this, they do, you know what, they think generational wealth? Now, I'm not saying even the means they get it. Now, watch this though. And all that being said, once again, there's certain things that just they're not going to make sense. I know you're waiting on this and that, and this is going to have to happen, and you're going to have to get this paycheck, and you're going to have to work this many years, and you're going to have this retirement check. You're going to have to do this. There's something that Yah has for you that doesn't make sense. It's about to happen in your life, and you got to start working now in faith as if it's already happened. It doesn't make sense to everybody. You got to already make sense. Matter of fact, that's the real reason when people say, oh, don't tell everybody your vision and your goal and stuff, because, they'll start praying against it, or they'll mess it up, or they don't know what they're talking about, or they'll make you feel bad. The real reason why you can't necessarily always share everything with everybody is because they wouldn't see it even if you try to give it to them. There's family members that didn't see. I kept telling them all the time, and they just kept saying, oh, they humor you. I had friends. They humor you. Oh, okay, what's that? I had people that we had music and stuff they're putting together that should be walking around, and y'all should be getting their stuff and supporting them and everything. And when we go places, they should be opening up. They should be giving us praise and worship and all that. And I told them, hey, this is happening, and it's going to move, and we're going to build a community, and we're going to be worldwide. And they'd see pieces of it and stuff. We go out into the streets, and they perform, and we get 100 people and stuff listening to their performance and everything out of the blue. Just going out to the street, and next thing you know, I've had people, I wrote music for them and stuff. We were supposed to work together. Next thing you know, I get kicked out the group. They done changed the music up. They put it in front of a church. I show up. They don't even know I'm gonna show up. I show up to support anyways. Maybe they had 60 people at the service or whatever. They sold a couple CDs, never went out where it was supposed to. We supposed to be in line though. We had talked about we're gonna do this stuff together. We were gonna move together, right? But they didn't see the vision. They didn't see the vision. They didn't see the purpose, and they definitely didn't see the value. That's why we always talk about VPV: vision, right? Vision, purpose, and value, right? Vision, purpose, value. We always talk about vision, purpose, value. Why is that important? Because there's going to be a lot of people, not only they can't see the vision, but when you can't see the vision, you don't know what the purpose. And when you don't know the purpose, you definitely can't start talking about value. See, you're going to have to start working things and putting value into things that other people think have no value. There are some people that are looking at you strange. What are you talking about? The word of Yah, this name, Yahweh. I have people all the time. When I look up stuff, I had somebody arguing with this. There's somebody who was with us, and now all of a sudden it's talking about trying to be part of somebody's, else's teachings and stuff. And they're like, and I've had a couple people do this. Well, when I look up the stuff you're talking about, the only thing I find is you. I'm like, well, some of the stuff I found is over years and years and years. But I say, okay, like no problem. And give me a second. And sometimes I can show you this. I can show you where this came from. I can show you blah, blah. And you can go down it. But it's like, oh, okay, but not everybody's going to see it. And even still, when you show certain things to certain people, you can show them the verses, you can show them the scripture, you can show them all these things. People still may not get it. And that's okay. I love you anyways. I love them anyways. I still preach to them. I teach them. And after they go ahead and go through the stuff and end up, there are people who have been in and out of SOC so many times. I'm not just talking about every once in a while, a couple of people. I'm talking about there's specific people who have been in and out of SOC. I'm sorry, I'm not talking about a group of people. I'm talking about as individuals. There are people who've been in and out of SOC like 5-6 times. Right? And when they come back, come on, get this teaching. They did what to you? Yeah, I know they would. Oh, well, your teaching was blah, blah. Yeah, I know, because it's not really my teaching. It's the teaching of the Most High, right? But go ahead. Go ahead out there. And I'm gonna be like the prodigal father. That's what I'm supposed to do. Let me see when they're coming back. When they're coming back, when they're gonna come to themselves. Y'all got the ring ready and the fatted calf ready and the robe ready, right? They gonna come back. And if they don't, well, it's not because I wasn't ready. You know what I'm saying? When you get to be a parent, that happens too. Your children will go and you gotta trust. And sometimes you don't hear from them. Sometimes they do unrighteous stuff, and you're hearing about it, and it's hurting your heart. But you still gotta like when they come back, I'm ready. Where they at? Is that? Oh, it's not them yet. Here they come. Get it ready. Get it ready. I told you they was coming, right? Because I work in faith, even if they don't work in faith. How you doing, Sister Tama? I'm sorry, Minister Tama. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. I forget who it was, and I was telling them that, um, when you deal with Job, I was like, the book of Job starts off. We only think about certain things, and Job is 42 chapters, and for whatever reason, we only talk about like a couple verses in Job. But I was like, Job or Yah, but Job actually starts off. If we want to be honest, Job starts off as it talking about how he was this righteous man, one of the richest men in where he was already, if not the richest, but one of the richest men in this area, and said that every day he would take time out to give a sacrifice, an offering to the Most High, and he wouldn't just do it for himself. It said every day he did it for his children too, and he would do it. It said just in case they might mess up. It said that he would do it just in case his children would mess up. He already had an offering ready. he was praying for children just in case. He knew they were human beings. So just in case, they used to, some of our ancestors say the sins of omission and commission. He would say, I could just do an offering for but you know what? Like I got 10 babies. You know what? So and so be messing up, and so and so, they got a tendency to run their mouth too much, and so they like to run in and out of the world, and so they be hanging with the wrong people, and so just in case, let me just put this together real quick. So and so, they like to go ahead and they research so much this, and they don't know how to research, so they research everything. They're always learning, never coming to the knowledge of the truth, and so they speaking in tongues, but they can't interpret the word of Yah itself. And some people, they're so busy being preachers, but they don't even know how to be a rabbi. And some of them are so busy being anti-women that they can't be any righteousness. And some of them have become anti-men because some people are so anti-woman. And some of them are so in the black and white that they can't read in black and white. And some people are so into black and white that they don't even look for the gray areas. And so he would just say, let me just go ahead and make sure that I put a sacrifice for everybody just in case. Right? When I get prayer time, and I'm just like, just in case. You need a just in case prayer sometimes. But what are we talking about today? Why do you not have what Yah has made? Yah has made prayer for you, and yet everybody says you don't have time. And then somebody today starts off with saying, well, you're privileged. That's why you have time. No, I watch this. I won't say I make time because Yah made time, right? But I definitely am very active in time. If Yah made it, there's no way that I'm not going to participate in what he made. See, this is why can I be honest? Ooh, can I be honest? Can I be honest? Please don't hate your boy. Please don't say that up here's the prosperity preacher, especially those of you who don't know me that well, right? But can I just be honest for a second? Can we just keep it 100 right now? Can we bless the Lord? I'm gonna just go ahead and release real quick. Look, real talk. I am so grateful that I got over thinking that the only way that I could preach a word and play music and take care of people and stuff was if I was poor and homeless and destitute. I'm gonna just keep it a buck with you. I'm just excited that I finally learned. I'm not saying I need to be rich. If y'all wants me to be rich one day, let it be. Right? But I'm okay being a Levite. I'm okay not having anything left in my name. I've already made that decision. I'm 100%. But I'm so glad that I got over this thing that says that my family has to be sitting up here struggling to make sure that y'all will think. I'm not saying y'all. Hopefully you get what I'm saying, right? The context of it. But I'm so glad I got over. This is how I used to think, because this is how they make you think, that you got to be busted and disgusted in order to make sure that Yah is with you. No, right? I'm so glad. Yeah, we deserve our blessing. I'm so glad I got past that. I can't tell you how awesome that is to be free of that, to where if somebody says, Pastor Kofi, I'm so glad about what you and your wife are doing. Here's $300. Make sure you take your wife out. And they'll leave a little note with it. They'll say, do not, like y'all have had to tell me this before because you know what I'll do with it. Y'all will say, do not use this for SOC. They'll tell you straight, they'll say straight up, don't use it for SOC. I'm not saying I get that all day, every day. I'm just saying it used to be when I would get that, I would feel so guilty and I would still do it. But no, my wife deserves to be, if she's going to be in this walk with me, and she's going to travel with me, and she's going to go through all this. If somebody says, I want to bless your wife, then she deserves to be blessed. And I don't feel guilty about, I'm telling you, people will make you ashamed of receiving and therefore receiving what YAH has for you. I'm done with that. I've said this story before when I was playing music and it was at an assembly and I was helping out with the Bible study, the men's Bible study. And there was this brother who never came to church since the time I had been with them for like 3 years. Apparently when they started like 10 years prior, he used to come by, right? But never had showed up to the church in my whole time being there. He shows up for this one Sunday. All of a sudden he's talking and saying this, and he's like, well, how much? He's talking to his friend. He's like, how much do you get paid? He's like, I don't get paid nothing. He's like, good. And then he looks at me because he knows I'm a musician. I just talked about being a musician. And he says, see, it's good because people that are supposed to get paid, you know, or people that are out here and they're not supposed to get paid. If you really love God, then you'll do it for free. And I'm like, bro, you don't even show up to nothing. Right? I didn't quite say it like that, but I kind of did. And then I hit him with the word. I said, but doesn't the word say that the workman is worth his hire? So I was like, question. So am I supposed to make sure that I come through for 5 rehearsals? Right. And I'm supposed to make sure that I'm homeless right now. I have zero money and all this. And they said before I came, they told me that they had this, which is really nothing for me a month, but they had enough for me to where I could actually like eat, you know, and not choose and choose if I wanted to fast, you know, because I don't get to choose. I just fast. But it's not because it's Yah's will, right? Is it all right that somebody would bless me for something? And he just kind of smirked and turned his head and tried to be like, oh, you're wrong. And you hear people do this all the time. You'll see people come on and they'll be like, oh, these Cash App preachers. See, a Cash App preacher won't be blessed by the Most High. Why? Show me the scripture. First of all, there's no word Cash App mentioned in the Bible. But what you mean to say is that if anybody's going to be a Levite, they shouldn't be taken care of. But Levites are not supposed to have jobs. Why do you not have what Yah wants for you? Because sometimes we've gone ahead and agreed with people and we'll say, well, I'd rather just go ahead. Let me go ahead and just be broke. Let me be busted and disgusted. But that's not Yah's will. And even if I am poor, the poor will be with us always, meaning that we're supposed to have stuff in place to help the poor. Yeah, you know the script. They know the scripture don't say nothing about Cash App, but that's a new thing. That's that new. They'll quote Paul to talk about it while Paul is telling you that he gets gifts. They'll quote and talk about something that somebody in the Levitical priesthood is preaching, and yet the people in the Levitical priesthood are not allowed to have jobs. They get donations based off of what they do for the community. Matter of fact, I don't even do this at SOC the way I should, but I don't even do it because we're not in a position yet, especially if we're still trying to get this stuff together for land. We haven't, until the day comes that we signed it. It's already been told to me not to do it. But some people get mad because I'm not even paying the preachers the way that we're supposed to, or donating to them the way that we can. They get small donations here or there, and some of them haven't even been long enough with us yet to where they've even gotten one yet. And it's out of my pocket usually, and not out of SOC's. But they supposed to get paid out of the tithe. And at some point, if we do this right, when we're in different areas, y'all are supposed to take care of them. Those of you who are dealing with somebody who's going to be dealing with New York and New Jersey and Delaware and Massachusetts and Pennsylvania and Washington, D.C. and Northern Virginia and Maryland and all that, at some point, somebody should be helping them out. That's going to have to take place if they're going to do what y'all really want them to do. But watch this. Why don't you have what Yah has made? Yah has made the truth for us, and we can't even get truth. You know why? Because you want your preacher to work 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, take care of their family, and somehow have time left to make sure that they're giving you a word or showing up or calling you or texting you or whatever. That doesn't work. You see how that doesn't work? Faith without works is dead. You want the stuff to stimulate your faith, but they don't even have time to work the faith. And it's supposed to be the same way. Watch this. If you're going to be the best chef you're supposed to be, then we need to bless your being a chef. You need to have time to develop the gift. If you're going to be the best baker, we need to develop that gift. My son is going to be another generation of teacher. Guess what my son did yesterday for the first time with SOC? He was 100, well, I won't say 100%. His mother and father were helping him, but he was in charge of class. Solomon's Kung Fu Club, children came on. He was the one that was in charge, and he was in training. So there was some stuff that we're going to get better, right? But the children seem to like it a lot. And guess what? If that's what you're going to do, son, you need to be in training now. So we're going to sow into you, and we're going to have a community that's going to grow with you, and you're already going to have something in place to where you're sowing into them, and then at some point they're going to sow into you. I said this yesterday, and this might get me in trouble, so be it. I said this yesterday, right? People can't pay me for what I do anyways, because if I give you what's eternal and what's from YAH, then you can't afford it. Destin participated. Yeah, amen. It was great to have him on. I'm just trying to tell you, if I'm giving you what YAH has given me, and that's for any of your gifts, I'm just going to talk about me, right? So you don't have to be on here saying, that having people say that you big-headed and you too big and you a prosperity teacher and all that. I'm gonna just talk about me. Let them say that about me. You ready? Don't say it about yourself. Don't even believe it, receive it, but don't even put it on here because I don't want nobody messing with you. I'm gonna just talk about me. Is that all right? I'm gonna just tell you that if I'm giving you what YAH has given me, then I'm giving you something that you couldn't pay for anyways. That's why when I was on the street, I did it because I didn't need your pay to do it. That's why when I was in jail and in prison for something I didn't even do, I did it. I didn't need your pay to do it. That's why when nobody would watch me for 3 hours on YouTube before on the other channel, when nobody watched me, it was okay. I still did it. When nobody clicks in, if I have a Patreon and Patreon doesn't even have it to where you guys get the notification, you got to watch it later. It doesn't mean that I won't do it. If somebody doesn't invite me on their platform to be able to teach it or preach it, I'll still do it. When I had to teach and preach it to the trees in Illinois and in Zion, Illinois, right? I still did it. When I was preaching and teaching it and couldn't even say YAH's name and started getting irritated with it because I was in the military, you couldn't say in the name of the one you believed in. I still did it. You can't pay me for this because Yahushua paid it all. And if he paid it all, then I'm not worried about your wages. What did we talk about the other day? The wages of sin is death. Who pays your wages? My wages don't come from man. How you doing, Chosen? My wages don't come from man. Amen, Minister Samaya. Yeah, our wages don't come from man. So I'm not concerned about man. No wonder y'all are so concerned because your wages come from him. When you realize that man can't pay you for what YAH's giving you anyways, and you realize Yahushua paid it all. I said this yesterday, or whenever it was. Was it yesterday? Was it the day before? Whenever we talked about this. I said this, and I'll say it again to help you with this context. If I get invited to speak at a corporate place, this is how it works. If somebody says, Kofi, we want you to come and speak to the people at our office. We want you to come and speak to everybody. We want you to speak to 150 people, 120 people. Maybe we want you to speak to 200 people. Maybe it's 1,000 people. Maybe we want you to come to this big church and preach, whatever it is. Do you not know that all of that is already paid for? They're not paying me. They have that allotted in the budget. If somebody says, Kofi, can you come and speak at this Muslim event we're having in the mosque, right? They'll say, okay, I'm going to go and talk to them because we already have the money allotted. Let's just make sure that everybody gives permission for you. They're not paying me. They're paying for the gift. They could care less. Can I be honest with you? They could really care less who gives it. They start to have the same person come and do it because they realize that I carry the gift, but they're not paying for me. They're paying for the gift, and they're not really paying for it. The money has already been put to the side. It's already there. All I do is show up and participate in what's already been laid out. My gift makes room for me to walk in that arena and walk in that area. So you got this thing twisted in your mind, right? Thinking that you're supposed to chase what's already laid out for you. The blessing shall come and overtake thee. Grace and mercy, goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. And I will, as a result of my will. I will. I will be in the house of the Lord forever, right? Like I'm not worried about chasing what's already set aside. When you learn if you learn this, it'll help you and it'll bless you. You don't make money. People have this weird philosophy. Why do you not have what YAH has made? Right? Before there was money, there was food. But you keep talking about I don't have enough money for food. Here's the food. Go get it. He already made it. But you keep talking about, I got to make money for the food. What does money have to do with the food? If I don't make enough money, my marriage won't work. There are people, and look, I know this isn't righteousness, but hear what I'm saying. I've seen people be married as crackheads, doing some really scandalous stuff, but somehow, some way, find a way to make sure that they've been married for 20, 30 years. And yet I've seen people who can't get past a little bit of money or financial issues, and one person starts making money and now they break up. It's wild. I mean, I don't even want to tell you the stuff that I know that they've done. I'm just telling you, I've seen people that are married, right, pregnant out there in the street, doing some scandalous, wild stuff, married to people for 20 years. Somebody's in a relationship for 5 years, somebody start making money, and now all of a sudden one of them got to leave, or we got to reestablish what's going on. If we're gonna stay together, how? Watch this. I don't think people get this. Yah is love. Question, because here's another question. Because the main question for today is what? Is why do you not have what Yah has made? Watch this. Yah is love. Can you make Yah? Somebody already know where I'm going. Thank you for the love. Yah is love. And by the way, Sister Deborah, I saw what you sent or whatever, so we got you. Okay, just to make sure I meant to text you. Yah is love. Okay, Yah is love. Can you make Yah? Oh, I'm about see. We got to mess with your theology. Even if you're in the world, you carry some theology. You cannot make Yah. Yah has no beginning, has no end. So how do you make love? Oh, I'm just I gotta ask you. Come on, beloved. How do I make what Yah is? This is why a lot of you have a problem with this and be making fun of it. I saw Kev on stage making fun of it. But this is why y'all have a problem looking each other in the eye or bowing your heads before you go in between the sheets. But you should be praying over what's about to happen. Because you're not making nothing. You tapping into Yah. The bedroom is undefiled where you're qualified for marriage because it's pure. Like we talked about purity, internal purity yesterday. It's pure. See, but you can't even pray over it because y'all so embarrassed over it. Y'all don't talk about stuff like that. Y'all don't talk about things like that or whatever, especially when you out there and y'all don't have so many experiences. You don't talk about positions. Some of y'all into having your toys and you don't talk about that this is what you like, the feeling you get from your toy and all this stuff. And here you are. And y'all's like, I'm about to bring you into true love, action, holy love, holy actions. Y'all just think about the actions you're going to do to somebody's whole. He says, no, I need your actions to be whole. That's why it's undefiled, because it's holy. I hope I'm getting across to somebody. Your sexual activity in the bedroom is affected, and don't even want to be honest about the fact that you're trying to make or recreate something that you don't need to make because it has no beginning and it has no end. Why are you ashamed about things that you might need or want in a sexual manner? It's because you don't even have what Yah has made. Yah made marriage. In our culture, sex is marriage, marriage is sex. Why do you have a problem talking about it? Why do you have a problem with your preachers preaching about it? Why do you have a problem admitting that you might need something like that? Why do you have a problem teaching people that, hey, that's what we're headed towards, is the marriage, is the sex. So on our way over to it, let's make sure y'all are qualified. Why are we not talking about the fact that there are a lot of women who don't, can we be adult? All right, I don't know whose children are on here. I'm not going to be that bad, but if they probably less than about 13, 14 years old, this might not be for them. Depending on their maturity level, I'll let you make that decision. But let's just be adults for a second. How many people complain about the fact that they can't orgasm, whether male or female, and we don't ever talk about the fact that it might be because we don't know how to love each other before we get to the bedroom? I mean, let's just keep it a buck. A lot of the stuff that you're having is stuff that's dealing with your mind, not your body. Because if your mind was in it, your body would be ready. How many brothers have never even had another brother talk to him about sex, or had all these brothers talk to him about sex, and nobody ever said, there's this thing called the clitoris, right? I'm see some of y'all think I'm not holy if I talk about this. I'm just trying to tell you though. They never had a conversation, especially some of y'all that was promiscuous or at least had more than one partner at some point, or whatever you want to call it. I'm not here to slut shame male or female, but let's just keep it a buck. Like how many of y'all are sitting up here and can't and literally won't be honest about the fact that you're getting with somebody that might have sexual experience, and you might want to go ahead and think about how much of their sexual experience are you willing to continue? Because I'm gonna tell you something, for men, can I be honest with you? For men, it's hard for them to go backwards. If your man has had that experience, I'm sorry, sister, you might want to have him be honest about it and figure out how much of it you're willing to do, because it's going to be difficult. He might be able to, but you're going to have to talk it through, because if he's had that experience with somebody, it's going to be difficult for him to go backwards. It's going to be difficult for him to be like, hey, well, you know what? You've never done it. You're a virgin, or your experiences don't show you. I'm just trying to tell you, this is stuff that they don't want to bring up to you, but this is real talk. It's going to be difficult for that man if that's what he was getting, especially if he was in a committed relationship for a really long time. And so in his mind, that's just what is. And now here you are trying to be a better version of a wife. I get it, because the first one didn't work out, or maybe he lost his wife. So maybe somebody who he looks up to still, and he was faithful to death. And now here you are trying to help him out and become a wife. And he's in his mind going to a place that he was when he was being faithful. See, so that's why, like, exactly, that's why it should be between a husband and a wife. Many of us had these experiences outside of husband and wife, and now you're trying to figure out these illegal experiences. You were not qualified for marriage. You had this illegal experience, and now you're trying to bring it back in. But there's some things that they were doing legally and lawfully. Whatever your orifices that you were exploring, right? We're gonna be adults, right? Whatever orifice you were talking about, whatever it was being used, there are some. Watch this. This is, look. How honest can we be? Y'all tell me, right? I'm not gonna be really, really in depth. I told you I'm gonna let some of the teenagers listen in, because they need to hear some of this stuff. But how honest can we be? You give me a scale on serious, because 10 is like, I'm not gonna do 10 where I'm gonna peel your face off, right? Right, with some of this stuff. But I want you to take some of that church face off. Like, can we be 100, right? Like, there are sisters out there that like to give oral, that have an oral fixation, that like to give it, receive it as well, but they like to give it, and it makes them feel a certain way, right? And there are men out there that think that it's weird that a sister would want to do that to him. You're gonna need to have a conversation about that. That's part of what's gonna need to go on, especially if both of you have had experiences that you weren't supposed to have. There's brothers out there who feel a certain way about putting their tongue or whatever you're gonna put in an orifice to get somebody ready. But there's a sister out there that needs to have that conversation, because she might need that, or she's has that experience. There are some people out there, see, it should be virgin experiences, because we should be two people who have never had any experience outside of each other, but we don't talk about it. A lot of us are, that's not our place. That's what we're trying to get our children to. Some of you, you're trying to remain there. Praise Yah, hallelujah, right? I was able to make it to marriage, right? I'm be honest, but I still saw pornography, a lot of things. So there's a lot of things that I had in my head that was pornea. It was a false image of marriage. Sex is marriage, marriage is sex. And why is it that we don't talk about that? Sex is going to be a big part of what you're doing, because you're not allowed to have it with anybody else. It's just this is the reason why it's bad. Like, a lot of y'all are dishonest even about stuff that you have, right? Like if you carry something, I'm not even just talking about diseases. So I'm talking about if you have things that look different, or maybe you have like a third, there's people that have third nipples. There's people like, there's stuff that's all over there, and nobody talks about, because we're supposed to be holding this and that. And then all of a sudden you lay down with somebody and you like, what is that? And nobody had an honest conversation. I'm not saying what the world says, you need to lay down with it and test it out. I'm saying you got to at least converse about it. Even being emotional, emotions literally is the motions of the body. So even when you're having sex, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have motions of the body. The brain is going to fire certain ways. You're going to have certain things that are orgasmic experiences. When you have like really great food that makes you go, oh, this smoothie is so great, right? But that's the same things that are going to be happening when you're having sex. Matter of fact, what puts you in the mood? right? And I'm not just talking about, oh, okay, like when she wears this or that. Like, there's certain things, especially for the sisters. She needs to hear certain things through the day. She needs to feel secure and she needs to get affection. Sex with a man comes with friction. you know, sex with a man comes with friction. You can brush against a man by accident in the store, and he ready to go, right? But with a woman, it might start with, I'm calling, when I wake up in the rising, putting on some Stevie Wonder and laying next and spooning, and she's hearing, "You are the sunshine of my life. That's why I'll always stay around," right? Like that's when it's starting. I don't even got time. I got to get ready for the live session, but I just wanted you to know, you know. You are the apple of my eye, right? Like I'm just saying, it starts there. Finish the lot, and look. Or even when I was working a 9 to 5, you working a 9 to 5. Hey, babe, I'm just taking a 10-minute break real quick. I just wanted to let you know I love you. Is that all right? Are you doing all right? You need anything? You need me to send any money? All right, cool. Right? That's another plant. See, watch this. I'm planting y'all trying to plant a seed without planting the seed. I'm planting the seed first. I already know. You see what I'm saying? And it's not just only because of that, it's because she deserves it. She's a queen. She's my wife. But also too, I'm not gonna act like I'm not trying to have something at some point. My wife is sexy. My wife is beautiful. I didn't get with her and think that we was never gonna have sex. Right? We get to lunchtime. Hey, she coming to visit me. We're gonna sit down, we're gonna eat. I'm not going anywhere else. Everybody else, hey, let's go eat here. Let's go. Oh no, my wife is coming. You can call me a simp or whatever you want, but that's why I'm decades in, and some of y'all jokers trying to figure out how to make it past 2 minutes. Right? I'm calling my next 15-minute break. Hey, I might not call, but hey, look, I'm just texting you real quick, letting you know what's going on. I'll be on my way home soon. Soon as I finish, before I get ready for a live session, before I call into y'all or anything like that, guess what I was doing? Even with the 9 to 5, or even when I was doing the side hustle still. When I was finished my last little part of stuff, first person I'm calling is my wife. And we're having a conversation on my way back to the house. Right, at least the first 5 to 10 minutes. And if she's busy doing something, or she's like, okay, thank you for checking in and stuff like that, no problem. Then I'll start looking at my at you guys. Okay, who do I need to call next? Who I need to do this before I get in the live session? Because once I get home, I got to jump into the live session. And even with that, guess what? I'm gonna still make sure somehow, some way that my son is gonna see dad. If we're gonna talk, if we're gonna play, we're gonna do something, even if it's 30 minutes, because he's about quality time. He doesn't even care how much time it gets. Just, dad, when you give me my time, make sure it's about me. Even if you're on the phone with somebody, you got to take care of something. Just make sure that I know that I'm coming first, right? And that makes my wife look at it and say, "Ooh, that's great. Now he's going to his son, this and that." And then I might have flowers, I might have this, I might have that, right? It might be massages, a foot massage. That's something. See, watch this. People keep saying I don't have time. How do you not have what y'all made? If y'all made my wife for me, how do I not have time for her? Then after that, sex is not that hard. And I'm gonna make sure your feet are done, right? I'm gonna make sure that you smell good, or what you need them to be. I'm gonna make sure that you're traveling where we go. I'm gonna make sure that you going on vacation yourself. Today is 27. Oh, happy anniversary! Praise Yah. 27 years in. Praise Yah. Big brother Thomas, sister Tanya, doing the thing. Praise Yah for you. Hallelujah. Try and send something to y'all later on to say congratulations to you. Praise Yah. I'm be honest with you, I almost forgot. Or I would have forgot, probably. But praise Yah. 27 years in. Right? And you gotta sow into that. You gotta sow into that. How do you not have what Yah made? Watch this. If you believe, some of y'all believe that Yah made your wife, and I wouldn't even fight against it. You believe that Yah made your wife just for you. How did you lose that? How did you lose what was made for you? How do you lose time that was made for you? How do you lose word that was made for you? How do you lose business that was made for you? How do you lose visions? How do you have dreams and never write them down, or never make sure they're spoken into the atmosphere? How do you have vision and never make it plain upon the tablets? How do you have a husband that was made just for you and somehow he's not in your life? I can tell you how. It's because you're not worried about doing what it takes to keep it. See, we're supposed to be keepers of the word. If Yah spoke a word over you, why would you not keep it? If Yah spoke a husband over you, that's what y'all tell me, fine. He spoke a husband over you, why don't you keep him? If he spoke a wife over you, why don't you keep her? Angry and filled with rage, watch this. Even with that, and those are things, look, we should admit when we're angry. And I'll say this real quick. When you're angry, right? You can be angry, just don't sin. Be angry, but figure out, why am I angry? Is it based off what the person is? And even if I need to come at them, am I going to do something that's going to cause me to miss the mark? Or am I just coming at them in anger? Have I made sure that I've actually put this thing together correctly so that I'm not just running at somebody and about to like cause some really, really bad things to happen because I'm in anger, right? That being said, though, if it's in anger, one thing that the Holy Spirit, she showed me about anger a long time ago, most people, almost 100% of the time, when I'm dealing with myself or dealing with others, people do not get angry necessarily because somebody did you wrong. People get angry because somebody does something that you do not think you would do. How you doing, Hidden? You hear what I'm saying? Can I say that again? People do not get angry necessarily because you did them wrong. Yeah, that's part of it. But the real reason why people's anger really gets in the depths and stuff like that they do is because because somebody does something that you swear you would never do, and maybe you wouldn't, even though you might not have been in their situation, but maybe you wouldn't, but you're not them either. And so you got to check yourself. Like, and I'm not even talking about, see, people go straight to fornication, adultery. That's the first place we go. I'm talking about somebody speaks a word. Somebody uses a word that you do not use. And because they do not use the word that you use, or they use a word that you think is so taboo and sullies the very fabric of your existence, you get upset with them because they would use a word that to them they grew up with and was fine. So you got to be careful. Are you angry because they actually meant you harm? Or are you angry because they speak a different language, so to speak, than you speak? And in that language, it's not it doesn't translate well into yours. And so if they're going to speak your language, you need to learn that that's all right. And sorry, you have to learn that they have to learn rather not to use the word and give them time to use it. While at the same time, if you're going to speak their language, because it can't just be about you only, you got to learn sometimes to use the word that you yourself are so against. And you will be surprised how many people will have arguments over a word or an action. I asked him to take out the trash. He didn't take out the trash. He said he would do it in 2 minutes. I was all right. And I came back 15 minutes later. He didn't take it out. He might come from a place where, okay, I'll get it in a couple minutes means like I'll get to it. But if you come from a place where you are acts of service, love language, if he says 2 minutes, you need his actions to be 2 minutes. All right. So he needs to know that when you say that, but also if he does that every once in a while, he should get a chance to say, I'll do that in a couple minutes, and you be able to read him and say, okay, I'll do that in a couple minutes might mean I'm just going to wait till he does it. As long as, see, watch this, as long as he doesn't say I'll do it in a couple minutes and then it doesn't get thrown out with the trash, right? Or as long as I don't say set out the trash and he doesn't set out the trash, right? Like that's different. Like I ask, can you set out the trash? And he says, I'll do it in 2 minutes. And I know that it's like 3 hours before they pick up the trash, no problem. And then all of a sudden, 3 hours later, the trash goes and that trash should have went with it. Or I'm sorry, the trash comes and I never had my trash taken out. So now I've got smelly trash and I don't have a place for all my trash and I'm gonna be embarrassed for a week. Yeah, now I'm gonna have something to say to you because your 2 minutes, even in your language, you were not obedient to even what's in your language. But we don't have that conversation. You lose people because you lose what YAH gives you. You do not have what YAH has made. Why? Why? Lack of action, lack of hearing, right? And all this stuff. We're trying to do whatever it is that we'd like to do and never thinking about what YAH wants us to do with it. Everybody always chasing the wife that they lost. It's really interesting. So your strongest love language is acts of service. I don't want to ask. You should know knowing me. Very true. If somebody knows you, if somebody's getting to know you, they got to learn, right? Matter of fact, if the acts of service person knows that you don't know them that well, to be honest with you, they probably, when you say, can I help you with something? They'll probably say no. You know why? Because they like stuff done a certain way. And so if you're not going to do it, that's the type of person that just say, you know what? Don't worry about it. I'll do it. And y'all get mad. Oh man, don't have no attitude. And look, I get it. They kind of do have an attitude, and maybe they felt like that, or maybe they've been alone for a while or something where they feel like they got to do that too. I don't know. But you got to realize when that person says, what they're saying. They're just like, that's acts of service. And they're like, well, since you don't know me that well anyways, let me just go ahead and do it because I'm really big on acts of service. And if you don't get these acts down exactly the way I said, we're going to be fighting anyways. I don't have the energy for it. You don't have the energy for it. Let's just go ahead and let me do it. And no problem. And look, I'm not going to be mad at you. Now, if you that person and you mad at the person, you got to figure out what you're doing. But the person might say all those, like, there's times where I'm like, look, I'll just, and people, Pastor Kofi, let me do it. And I'm like, look, if you don't know this particular thing, especially if you don't know exactly what you're doing, and we're not lockstep, I'd rather just go ahead and take care of it. And even if it's just an extra thing I got to do, and even if it gets done a little late, I'd rather it be done a little late correctly than it gets messed up 7 times in a row and we do it really late. Right? Like sometimes that happens, but you got to know where somebody is. And you got to be willing to be honest about that conversation. And that person, if we be honest, has to have the ability to um, to do enough of those things on their own sometimes where there are certain things that they can trust. You still got to have somebody who has acts of service. You still got to give them a lot of stuff to do on their own. But if they can trust you with certain things, that it means that they're willing to let you help. It means that they actually love you because they love you enough to let you take certain acts on, and they trust you enough. See, watch this. If you mess up somebody's trust, somebody with acts of service, they will forgive you, but they'll take away all the acts. You'll be like, well, why can't I do this anymore? Why can't I do that? What? Even though they know you can do it, they've seen you do it in the past, they need to build up trust with you again. So it's not even a bad, they're not even, and even though that doesn't even make sense, and I'll tell you, ultimately it's not correct. However, I get it. Look, you messed up with me. So look, I know you used to do this for me. You used to do that. You used to do the yard. You used to take care of this. You used to do the gutters and all that stuff. I don't care if I ain't got, but if I don't have no arms, no legs, and only got one finger hanging from a nub hanging off of my right arm, I'll do the gutters because I'd rather just go ahead. But you can't do the gut. They will try to find a way to do the gutters because they don't trust you. You know what I'm saying? They'd rather just go ahead and do the gutters because they don't trust you. Right? And it doesn't make sense, but they have every right to say, I don't trust you, and to have some sense of the environment feeling safe in it. And right now, giving you acts of service that they used to do on their own before they met you or whatever, it doesn't make sense for them to try and allow you back in. It's the truth. There's a level of protection not to be hurt again and remove that person from the equation. Definitely agree. Right. But once again, this is why we talked about when we were talking about purification, internal purity, pure internal purity. That's why we were talking about internal purification. Right. There has to be forgiveness. People are usually actually pretty decent with forgiveness, believe it or not. At least people in the kingdom are actually pretty decent with forgiveness. Even if you don't 100% go into forgiveness, we're pretty decent with forgiveness. What happens is then I've got to purify myself, right? And then after that, I can start building up trust. You said that's because they still caught up in the now. I mean, yeah, it could be, but the now still exists in eternity. So I got to take notice of it. I got to take notice of it. Even if I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying. I remember I said it's not even necessarily correct. I wouldn't even say it's correct behavior, but it's truth. For example, it's like if somebody says, "I'm mad at you, Kofi. I'm furious at you." I might know why they're mad, and I might think that they're being mad is misplaced. I might not even think that they're being mad is what's based on what's real. But guess what's real? That emotion of being mad, their fist being balled up, that's real. you know, they're yelling and cussing at you, that's real. It might not be based off of reality, but it's real. And it has real consequences if I just act like they're not mad or I tell them why they don't deserve to be mad. That's one of the worst things you can do to somebody when they're mad, but people do it all the time. You really mad over that? You know you done did this is not that's not the time for that. That person is mad. You know what? I'm sorry that you're mad. I really am. I can see why you're mad. I can see where if I was in your position why you're mad. I really do. Right? And I'm sorry for even put in a position where we might have some miscommunication. Okay? And you'll even see the person start to calm down because what they're gonna do at that point? Like you're actually like agreeing with them. And then what happens from there is what? Well, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I can't even believe that you would do blah blah. Okay, well, I can see why it looks like that, but I didn't do that. Here's actually what happened. Would you like to see my phone? Would you like to see? I don't erase anything. Would you like to see my phone? Would you like to see my DMs? Would you like to see my emails? Would you like to call the person? Would you like me to call the person, put them on speaker, and you can act like you're not there, right? Like you can have that conversation after we actually address the fact that that person is mad. People are so quick, facts over feelings. Their feelings are facts. They're just other facts being addressed. We need to start putting context with the facts. But facts over feelings, that doesn't make it. See, this is why you can't reach a lot of people. We're so busy talking about, oh, well, the left are doing blah, blah, whatever. That might be correct. But if you calling them snowflakes and saying that they're all gay and saying that they're LGBTQ plus, they all should go into hell, and every single one of them coming from your children, and this and that and the third, after a while, you can like, how they feel is how they feel. And if that's what you coming in, look, you slamming them over the head, but you saying you're ugly and you're this and you're that. That's like, it's almost like people still have ad hominem. They still use these unapologetic, people talk about I'm unapologetic with this. Apologetics is the art of defending that which you believe. If somebody apologizes, they are supposed to explain. You think an apology means I'm sorry. No, that's not an apology. That's telling someone how you feel, maybe even empathizing, but there's conversing. Um, to apologize is to explain what's going on. To apologize is to explain, like, this is what's happening. This is what is going on. Yeah, Proverbs 29:11. Yeah. So a lot of people are, we're in a place where we're not even thinking about like that person might not even need the apology, or they might not need the explanation. Matter of fact, the first thing you might want to do is what YAH did to the 7 assemblies. He would say things. Look at all the assemblies except for um, the seventh assembly, which was the assembly of Laodicea. Every other assembly in Revelation chapter 2 and 3, he says many positive things about them first, and then says, but I have this one thing against you. We don't even talk to people like that. So people get angry and just start going off on people, or people get angry because you just start going off on them. You don't start off stuff like Yahashua did, right? I know your patience. I know your tribulation. I know that you found people that are apostles and not. I know that you have martyrs. I know that you guys have served me faithfully. I know this and that. But you know what I do have against you, Ephesus, though? After I say all these great things I know about you, you lost your first love. It's easier to hear from the one you're supposed to love that you lost what we started off with, when the person who started off with you is telling you all the things they still love about you. And we don't even have that in our discussions. We just go, we don't ask the person if they're ready for a discussion, and we just jump right in. Oh, you know what? You're wrong, and I can't believe you did this. And if you hadn't done this, and it would have been bad, and this and that. We don't even start off with stuff like, we've been together 25 years, and we've been through a lot of ups and downs together. I'm so appreciative to have you in my life. I wouldn't have gotten to the through some of the stuff that I have gone through if it wasn't for you in my life. You are a ray of sunshine. You are hope for me when I need hope. You are involved with the word of Yah just as much as I am. I thank you for support. I thank you for loving me. I thank you for your kindness. I thank you for being a beacon. I thank you for supporting. I thank you for defending me. All those things being said, just like there's one thing that's kind of been bothering me, and I just like to share it with you real quick. And you don't have to give me an answer or anything right now. I'm just asking, can you? I just want to tell you these things, and all these things you've done for me. There's this one area when you've been talking to me, especially around your friends. It seems like you've been disrespectful. I don't think you mean to be, but it's coming off as that. And I know you love me a lot, and your friends don't necessarily have wives in situations like that where they have to be honest like that. So I'm just asking you, right? Can you go ahead and look at how they're acting? Because I know the Yah in you, and you wouldn't treat me like they treat their exes and stuff like that. But I think it's starting to rub off on you, because I want to be with you forever. I need you, and I can't go on this relationship any further if I don't have the best version of you. And I want to support nothing but the best version of you. And I just want to put it out there. Is that all right, baby? Thank you. right? Give him a kiss, and that's it. We don't talk like that. We just go straight in. How you doing, Sister Austin? How you doing, Sister Toya? We just straight in on them. You ain't this and blah blah, and you this, and now you're gonna fight. Did you forget? I told you all this before. When you get with somebody, if you do marital coaching with me, guess what? One of the first things exercises I'm gonna say to you. We're gonna ask 3 questions. Why do you love each other? Why did you first fall in love with each other? And why do you need each other from this point on? Like, that's gonna be the first thing. Because people normally don't even pre-active or proactive and put this stuff in place before they get married. They usually wait till their marriages are falling apart or they're angry or they're in a bad spot. And then they say, okay, let's go now and get somebody to talk to. Yeah, how we approach each other is extremely important. If we just thought about how we approach each other. And the weird part is, you wouldn't do that on the job. You say you hate the job, but you're not walking to your boss and just yelling at him. You telling all your friends while you getting ready to go to your job, girl, when I go to that job, I'm gonna tell my boss that I'm gonna give him this. I'm gonna give him my 2 weeks notice. Your girlfriend see you a week later. Girl, how'd everything go? I know you told your boss and everything. Yeah, I told him, but I go ahead and stick around. Reality is, you went there, you ain't said nothing. You shut your mouth. You know what I'm saying? How you doing, daughter of the Most High? You know what I'm saying? Like, we got all this stuff. You wouldn't do it on your job, but you do it to your spouse easy. No problem, because you don't respect the marriage. You don't respect the culture. Man, anybody do this to me, bruh, you know I'm about to throw hands, bruh. For real, bruh. You know I'm about to throw hands. They know where I'm from. You know where I'm from, and where I'm from. That's brother's famous last word. Where I'm from, we don't do. From where I'm from, I don't buy no disrespect, cuz I don't buy no disrespect. Let somebody disrespect me, you know what I'm saying? I'm about to go ahead and fire them up. You know what I'm saying? Let anybody out here disrespect me. And bro, whatever. You're gonna go there, you're gonna be quiet. But you go to your wife, and now all of a sudden you can be disrespectful as I don't know what, can't you? How do we not have what YAH made? YAH made the wife to help the husband. Yet there's so many men out here who can't get a wife and want several wives when they can't even treat one correct. How do we not have what YAH made? There's so many sisters out here who keep talking about boyfriends and how to date and can't get a husband. And when they get one, can't even abide by the mission and not be in submission, but realize they should be in submission. Okay, Sister Monica, I see you. But you're back. You're not blocked. You're saying you're back, right? How many people do we have who are YAH's children who can act like anything other than, but we say they're YAH's children? How do we not have what YAH made? How do we not have what YAH made? It's a decision. It's decision time. Will you take back what YAH already gave to you? Because see, if you gave it up, that's not on him. That's an us problem. It's time for us to take back what he made. The question now is, will you take back what he made? Like, is it all right to take back what do you think that it's valuable to take back what he made? The devil stole my joy. He can't steal it. You have to give it. The devil can only do what he's authorized to do. He couldn't touch Job until YAH said, you can touch him. And then he said, you couldn't touch him. First, he said, you can touch everything but him. That's why his wife didn't get touched. Children got touched. His wife never got touched. Why? Because you can touch everything around them. You can touch the children. You can touch the sheep. You can touch the goat. You can touch the land. You can touch the food. You can touch the house, but you can't touch him. Then the second time he was like, yeah, see, skin for skin. Let me touch him. And he said, you can go ahead and touch him. And his wife almost got a divorce. His wife was talking trash. His wife was like, just curse the Most High and get rid of it, because she was watching her husband pass away in front of her eyes and fade and go through all this pain. So in a sense, even that was death. Why do we not have what YAH made? I'm asking this question over and over again because I'm just trying to figure out, why do you never have time when YAH made time? Why do you never have prayer when YAH made prayer? Why do you never have food when y'all made food? This is a trick of the system to make you and I think that we should not have what Yah has created. Why do you not have a nation when Yah made you a nation? You are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, and a peculiar people to show forth the praises of Yahweh. Why do we not have it? Because we don't know we deserve it? Sure. Yeah. I want us to start thinking about that. That's something we could definitely put on the list. Because if you watch this, and it's not even that you need to know you deserve it, right? Before you deserve, I want you to realize that it should be served. It's already been served. It's not even about whether you deserve. To deserve, right? To de-escalate is to mean the opposite of escalated. To deserve means that it don't even have to be. I only have, it's the opposite of serving, or it's the breaking down or slowing down of serving. It's not even about whether you should worry about not serving. It's already been served to you. Not trying to come against you, Sister Monica. I'm just trying to go a little deeper, right? I want you to even think it's not even about whether I deserve it. This thing has been served, right? Are we in a position to receive and therefore receive? Same type of question. Watch this. When you pray, a prayer is a petition. A petition is a request or demand made upon the government based off of your constitutional rights. Do you have the constitutional right to ask what you're asking for? Or else your prayer won't go any higher than the ceiling. Thank you for the love, right? Well, I'm not even saying I need to teach something to you. I was just saying I was just trying to go deeper in what you're saying. What you said was awesome. Right? What language is the language of those who are Israel? Are you ready to go deeper? See, some people say, how do you get this? How do you get that? If you notice, I say a lot of stuff based off of Hebrew characters. Even if I don't write them out, I explain things saying, well, this and this and this and this spell this. So if you're an Israelite and you can speak the language, you know that this actually means this. Right? Like, because this stuff has already been given to us. Yah made it. And this is, and when you study it, the language that we're using is the same language that Adam used when he spoke to the Holy Spirit in the garden. When it says he spoke to her in the cool of the day, look up that term, and it literally is saying he spoke to the Holy Spirit. Why they put cool in there, I don't know. Were they trying to be poetic? Were they trying to hide things? And look, King James was African. It doesn't mean that just because he was African. Like I heard something the other day, right? This is something of some Israelite brothers talking and speaking. And the brothers were out there talking about what were they talking? Forgive me, y'all. There was some Israelite. Oh no. It was a Muslim NOI brothers, Nation of Islam, and and he was sitting up there preaching and talking about King James. He was a slave owner, which probably was. Just because you're black doesn't mean you can't own slaves. He's a king. He was like King James, is a slave owner, and he wrote the Bible of the, or he wrote the demonology, or basically wrote a satanic Bible. Kind of, sort of, like it's like when you say the King James version, he didn't write the King James Bible. Y'all know that, right? Like he had people that wrote it. He put his name on it. Same thing with that, right? But King James, they're like, King James was homosexual. He was probably bisexual for sure. And they're like, so because of that, it meant that he was an enemy of you. And if there wasn't any King James, there would have never been any slavery. And I'm like, okay, now we're getting to a place where it's like, all right, are we really doing this just to make a point, or just to try and say like everybody who reads the Bible is wrong, or if you have a King James version to make yourself, you can look this stuff up. Well, brother, you're not accurate at all, because he said if there was no King James, there would never be any slavery. It's like, have you ever looked up Christopher Columbus? Have you ever looked up the Pope? Have you ever looked up a Sephardic Jew? Right, but you haven't looked them up. You haven't thought about them. You haven't looked for them. You haven't operated in anything that says you should look for them. But you're talking a lot of trash about them. If you look up Christopher Columbus correctly, then you'll discover that Christopher Columbus is somebody who worked for Queen Isabel. Queen Isabel is somebody who worked for the Pope. The Pope said you can go ahead and use the doctrine of discovery to go ahead as long as you make and get people, as long as you make sure he gets some of the slaves. They were already in slave trade. That's not even dealing with England, which is where you're talking about King James. But the mind has to have you to where we can't even have what YAH has for us, because now we're not dealing in truth. We're just trying to we're trying to get members. And we do this not just in NOI or things like that. We do it all over the place. That's why you have all these camps that are against each other. We're supposed to come together as a compact nation, Psalm 122, and yet we have so much beef with each other, it's unreal. We're supposed to come together as a compact nation, and yet we have so much beef with each other that it's unreal. You hear what I'm saying? We are supposed to come together as a nation, and yet we have so much beef with each other that it is unreal. Right? We're trying our best to say who's better, who has more knowledge, this and that. That's why at some point, and it's by design, sure. Right? But this is stuff that we were doing back in biblical times. It's a curse. And other people, they know how to tap into the curse. For whatever reason, we always focus on Deuteronomy 28, verses 15 through 68. Time to start focusing on Deuteronomy 28, verses 1 through 14 as well. Yes, Willie Lynch is real. We're not going to act like it's not. PTSS, post-traumatic slave syndrome, written by Dr. Joy DeGroy, our sister, right, is real. And the design was made and created that it would be worldwide, that everybody around the world would buy into this. That's why when you look at Dragon Ball Z, Goku and them are monkeys. Piccolo got some really weird looking stuff. The black people on there looking crazy. Look at Naruto and how we look on there. Right? They know enough about anime. They can make they can make us an anime to look like Afro Samurai. They know how we're supposed to look, and they know how to make it look fine. You can see even people who did anime type stuff in Boondocks, right? It's not that difficult, but there's right behind Psalm 122. We should be we should be a compact nation. All right. Psalm 123 tells you that there are people that are at ease with your scorning. If you're not being scorned, they're not at ease. They're not comfortable with that. Why do we not have what YAH made? We're not comfortable with realizing that YAH made us. Somebody tell me in Revelation chapter 2, verse 9, and in Revelation chapter 3, verse 9. Look up both. Revelation 2:9, Revelation 3:9. They both say the same thing. Right? They have different words in them and stuff, but hear what I'm saying. In Revelation 2:9 and in Revelation 3:9, you will see the same saying in both of them. Guess what it is? Right? That's why we got to get away from Balaam doctrine, which is told to you in Revelation 2:14, and you can read about it in Numbers 22, 23, and 24. Guess what they told you in Revelation 2:9 and Revelation 3:9? Guess what they told you? About you. See, people don't even open the Bible. Why do we not have what YAH has made? He made you, and he put you in a position. I don't know how to pronounce. Is that I'll be saying Brother Dre? Hey, my Dre? They're saying, don't know if I'm saying that correctly. What does Revelation 2:9 and Revelation 3:9 have in common? There's a sentence that they both have, or a part of a sentence they both have in common. Guess what it is? Or not even guess. Read if you got it in your Bible, if you got your Bible available. Open it up and see what it says. It says that there are those who say that they are you, and they're not, but are the synagogue of the Satan. In both. Revelation 2:9, Revelation 3:9. Even as far as numerology is concerned, it's not even that difficult to find, right? Even in the modern Bible, Revelation 2:9, Revelation 3:9 makes it very clear. And in Revelation 3:9, right? Revelation 2:9, it talks about that you think you are poor, but really you are rich, and that you need to get you might have to get locked up and all that, but there's something waiting on you that's greater than anything they did to you. Revelation chapter 3, verse 9 goes to a place that's even deeper. Revelation chapter 3, verse 9 goes to a place that's even deeper. Revelation 3:9 says that he's gonna have the people who are against you learn at your feet, and they're gonna learn how to worship, and he's gonna show the system or the beast or the world that he has always loved you. Right? When it says they'll worship at your feet, it's not saying they're gonna worship you. It says they're gonna learn at your feet how to worship. Right? Remember, to sit at somebody's feet is to learn. To worship is to worship. You are not to be worshiped. Now we're getting this mixed up because we're supposed to be the vessels, and now the people who are the vessels, now they want to be the gods. But you got to recognize this is just what's supposed to happen. that you dealt with a curse. You were put on ships. You forgot who you were. It says you would have children that you wouldn't see and they would be sold. It said that you would have women that were your wives and somebody else would lay down with them, that you would travel the world on ships, that you would be scattered, all these things. And now here's coming a time to where what? To where you think you are poor, but really you are rich, because they don't steal from poor people. They steal from people who have. You can't be a thief out here making a lot of money if you only take from people who have nothing. Right? It's like if you have people that do auctions and they go to auction places where they have these storage containers and all that. If somebody comes and tries to get the storage container at the auction, guess what happens? Like, they're trying to get something that has something of value in the storage container. They're not just randomly just stealing random stuff. Right? Like, they want to make sure that they get something of value. If I go to an auction, I see a car, I do research on it before, and I make sure that I know what's going on with it. I might even have a friend check it before and make sure, somebody that's greater at mechanics, because I'm not that great, to be honest, but somebody that's greater than myself. And then, how you doing, Brother Allen? Be safe out there. And then after that, I might say, okay, now I'll do it, and I'm already prepared to pay a certain amount. And if I see some of the, I have to also watch some of the people, some of the people that might be trying to drive the price up for it might be people that work there. So I might go to some of the auctions and never really even bid, maybe bid once or twice, but never really even bid and get anything, just because I'm trying to learn who works there, who's auctioning, who's trying to drive up the price, and they don't even. They're not even going to buy themselves. They're just trying to make sure, because if they win the auction, it just goes right back to the people they work for. I might need to learn some of that stuff. See, and Yah is trying to tell us, like, to even look at, like, who's driving up the price. Who are these people that are telling you you got to pay more for this, or you got to do more for this, you got to pay these taxes, or you have to follow this statute that's not even biblical, or the statute that's not even, Caesar doesn't even honor himself, or who's telling you that you got to ask for more from your husband or your wife rather than comprehending who they're supposed to be in the first place and what you got into and realizing who they are as far as coming out the mud, right? Like who who authorized? See, you guys are getting into unauthorized stuff. Did Yah authorize it? Why did we not have what Yah made? Can I say it like this? Why did we not have what Yah authorized? We have so many different things around our house, and Yah didn't authorize any of it. And then we say, I don't know why I've got all this clutter in my life. I don't know why I've got all these things in my life. I don't know why I have all this stuff that doesn't have value. I got a lot of stuff, but I don't have a lot of value. Well, you have value, but the stuff around you, it doesn't have value. And you've put yourself, you've identified, you've really attached yourself to the valueless. And now you're starting to think you have less value. What's more valuable, the land or the dollar? But nobody gave us land. Even if they gave you dollars when you got married, nobody gave you land. Matter of fact, you'll spend 100,000 for a wedding and never think, well, let me spend 100,000 on a even if it's a broke down house. That's something that's mine, right? Like, that's not our mindset. Is to get what lasts eternally. Like, what's more important, the dollar or the food? Nobody taught you how to get the food, but everybody taught you to go to school so that maybe one day you learn how to make a dollar, even though you don't make dollars. And when they make dollars, it means the dollars go down in price. Why don't we have what Yah made? Why is that not our standard? I try to make love, but Yah is love. I should go to the one that is love to figure out if I'm worthy of having a husband or wife. Thank you, Sister Nadine. We're probably not going to make the number today, but that's all right. We've been doing, I think we made it like quite a few days in a row. Thank you for all that you do on there. Appreciate it. Right? People might need a break on their thumbs today. It's a Thursday too. Thursdays are kind of slow. Praise Yah. Right? But once again, why do we not have what Yah made? I could get it if we didn't have what the world made, but it's weird. We got a lot of people get everything the world makes, and then they get to a certain position and they got all this. They got thousands of people working for them. They get millions of dollars. They do all this, and they win the Super Bowls. They win the NBA championship. They win MLB championship, right? The World Series, all this stuff. They get all the accolades, and then they say there was no point of this. And the reason you feel like that is because you don't have what Yah made. Another question for you. Last question, really, for today. Who did Yah make you to be? And I know before people can give me a bunch of scripture, and I'm not saying you can't, but just hear what I'm saying. I know our first response is, I'm fearfully, wonderfully made. I'm above and never beneath. I'm the head and not the tail. I am royalty. I'm a king under the king. I'm a queen under the king. I'm his child. Who did Yah make you to be? Like, what is your purpose on this earth? If you were not here, what wouldn't happen? Right? That like, and if that's the case, see, watch this. If you were not here, I take seriously what I do, whether people like me or not, because if I really believe that I'm called by Yah, that means that if I didn't do what I was doing, somebody wouldn't be getting what they're supposed to get. And I had to stop considering humility to mean that I have no value. I humble myself into the position that causes me to have value. So I don't compete with other people to say if I'm a better speaker than them, but I know that I bring things to speaking that others cannot bring. I don't have to be better than whoever you like to put me up against. Eric Thomas, Joel Osteen, TD Jakes, Joyce Meyer, um, John Gray, Ravi Zacharias, um, whoever you want to put me up against. Tony Robbins, Tony Robbins' son, um, whoever you want to put me up against. I'm not trying to be better than anybody, but I know that nobody can bring to the table what I bring. I don't need to be number one in the world, motivational speaker, the number one preacher, the preacher that's considered to be, people walk around these titles. What's his name? Byron Cage. They were calling him the Prince of Praise and Worship. What is that? You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't need those things. And I'm not even saying he might not even wanted it, right? But I'm not competing it. Yeah, there's no competition. I'm going to end up being the best Kofi Ofori that you will ever know. And I don't mean just by that as far as, because there's other Kofi Oforis out there. I'm talking about I'm going to be the best Kofi Ofori in front of you online right now, 6'5.5", right? Uh, Brown skin, having love for myself, having love for others, having a mind for Yah. Like, there's not going to be anybody greater than me, because there's not going to be any other version of me. There's only going to be one me. There's only going to be one. You cannot operate like I operate. You cannot, and I can't operate like you operate. So it's not a thing. It's not a competition. Literally, I've stopped coveting you because you can't be me, and I can't be you. On my best day, I could never be you, and I've learned that that is righteousness. Right? On my best day, I could never be Maya. Why not allow myself to be one with somebody that I could never be, and therefore experience the best things with her as my wife? On my best day, I could never teach Shima's children like she could teach her own children. Why try? I can just be myself. On my best day, I could never help out sister Nadine's daughters the way that she does. I can give some tools to help. Her daughters seem to have, respect and honor for us and our family and SOC and stuff, but I can't parent those babies the way she does because they're not my babies. I got mad love and respect for those, but they're not my babies. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not going to try to compete to raise my son Solomon like she raises her daughters. First of all, did you even hear how much stuff in there doesn't even make sense for me to try and do? Right? But I can't try to bring things that she might do that work for her daughters and try to say I'm gonna do it for my son. It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't equate because they're not equal. She can't even raise her children the same. Right? I have a bunch of spiritual children. I cannot treat them the same. There are certain spiritual children that they just want to bring something up. They want to get off the phone as soon as possible. There's other spiritual children that I have that they gonna be on there for 2.5, 3 hours. And I have no problem with it. Right. But I need to know that. Right. There are certain ones that they don't need me to call that often, but when we do have conversation, they need a real word. Right. And there's no competition. Matter of fact, there's some, and I'm not mad at it. I'm just trying to tell you what it is. This is how much I've tried to get out of making the competition. Paul even says, don't call yourself a Paul, don't call yourself a Barnabas. So hopefully nobody's like Pastor Kofi and is better than or less than or worse than or whatever, right? Hopefully it's the word that I give causes you to think that I'm worthy of listening to or not listening to as YAH allows, right? I just want to put this out there though. Like, if somebody listens to somebody else, that never is offensive to me. I hope you're listening to the truth. That's when we have a problem, because I'm not offended, but YAH is. But I'm not sitting up here like, oh, well, if you listen to me, you best not listen to anybody else. You better not see if anybody else can test what I'm saying, because that's when we get in the dangerous space to where if you're not careful, you don't study at all. Please study everything that I say to see if it makes sense. That's truth. That's love. That's honor. That's respect. That's kindness. That's what YAH wants us to do, right? But hear what I'm saying. Even though I don't get upset, I don't get frustrated. Why? Because they can't be me, and I can't be them. If they tell you the truth, let them tell you the truth through the way that they were created to tell it to you. No problem, right? If they start telling you lies, then I have a problem with manipulation. If they want you to not be the best version of yourself, if they're looking at you at your weakest and they're coming in and trying to pick you apart, okay, now I have a problem. If they can't love you, right, out of your depths, they want to love you into your depths. All right, we have an issue, right? But if they're telling you the truth, by all means, that's why you have to learn the law. Why do we not have what YAH made? He made the law. Learn it. Yahushua said in Matthew chapter 5, verse 20, you should know the law greater than the scribes and the Pharisees. If you want to consider me to be on the level of a scribe or Pharisee or whatever, fine, then know the law better than me, so that when I start telling you about stuff, it's always about what you already are aware of. You already have a knowledge of, you already have an intimacy with. I want you to know the law greater than me. Matter of fact, Yahushua taught me he's the greatest teacher that I know. Outside of Ravak Hakudash, him and her are like this, right? As far as I know, right? But when he was here on earth, he's the greatest teacher I saw in an earthly vessel called the human body. And in human form, he was an excellent teacher. He said the sign of a great teacher is that greater things will you do. So watch this. If you're learning from me, at some point, I want to be able to watch you guys on your live session and go, man, I never even thought about that before. I want to get my notebook out and start writing some stuff down. There's nothing that brings the father more joy than when I'm sitting there and my son starts teaching me stuff. And he's teaching me French, because I'm not fluent in French. My wife is, but he's learning. And because he's learning at an earlier age, he's getting some stuff and he'll say some stuff to me. And I'm like, oh, that's right. It is how you say that. And I start to smile. I go, yeah, that is. Man, I need to get better. If I'm going to talk to you, then I need to get better. If I'm going to learn from you, if I'm going to go somewhere with you and I don't want to always have you have to do everything and feel bad about you're speaking something that I should speak or whatever, then we're going to need to, you're going to have to be better at this. I tell him all the time. Some of you have heard me say this to him, to his face. I've heard him. I say it to him all the time. You're going to be greater than I am. If I do this correctly, you're going to be my successor. I won't be a success if you're not a successor. And as a successor, you should be taking this to the next level. That's why I was so happy on yesterday, right? Even though there's some bugs we need to work out and stuff like that, but I was so happy and so awesome. I thought it was awesome and great that my son was teaching, because ultimately, and that's his first time. That was his first time being the official teacher of a whole class, and he's going to be doing it, for a while. He's going to get better, and at a certain point, I'm not even going to say anything. I'm going to just back out. His mom's just going to back out, and he's going to be teaching, right? And I was so excited to see my son leading, right? Because that's what he's going to do. He does what his father does. And so even though he's not doing it with the word right now, although he knows word and he speaks word and he answers questions on our Shabbat school and things like that, and sometimes he's with us and he hangs out and you guys see him talk and things of that nature, right? But there's nothing greater to a father than watching his child do greater than he did. Yeah, I know. I saw you yesterday say that you were learning on the side. Right? There's nothing greater. There's nothing greater. Watch, I keep telling y'all, y'all don't believe me. When Bloom and Flourish pops off and she's got so many people that are buying her product that she's basically giving offerings to SOC that allows us to just go and get whatever we want, I'm going to be a happy husband in her presence, watching her make all that money in. Because I'm the one that basically helped to facilitate the gift that was in her, right? She had the gift, everything is in her. All I did was just give encouragement. I was speaking it for years. Go ahead and use your gift. Go ahead and use your gift. Go ahead. Whenever you get it ready, I'm gonna start promoting. Matter of fact, I started promoting it before she started putting. She was like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna come out." And I don't know. I might have even been a little too hasty, but I just started speaking. Hey, Blooming Flourish is coming. Blooming Flourish is coming. She didn't even have anything posted. And even though she hasn't posted anything in a while because she likes to be behind the scenes. It's probably been a year plus since she's really posted anything for real, for real. And still growing in numbers and stuff like that. Because all I do, Bloom and Flourish. Go look at Bloom and Flourish. Go look up her website. Go look up this. Go look up that. And I can't wait for the day comes to where I'm still gonna be saying look up Bloom and Flourish stuff. But in the meantime, I'm gonna be looking up at her while she's standing on that stack of cash. Because what's hers is ultimately going to be the family's. And that means that if something happens to me, because I'm a Levite, so I'm not going to have anything that I'm gonna be able to leave outside of what I give to her. So when I know that she's doing well and something could happen to me and she would still be fine, oh, that there's nothing that makes a husband prouder. To see that we came out the mud and to see her standing on stacks, nothing that makes me prouder. Now I still provide, and even when she gets the stacks, I'll still make sure I take care of the bills. But nothing makes me prouder than to be able to look up and say, my wife's gonna be straight when I'm gone. My wife's gonna be protected. She's gonna be a private citizen. She's gonna know what it is to take care of her life. You know, nothing's gonna make me prouder. Leave her with something, Nevada oil, so at least she can keep pouring into something for generations. That's 2 Kings chapter 4. Nothing makes a husband prouder. But husbands out here jealous. Look up the Proverbs 31 woman. It's weird that a lot of guys that are so into wives having to be obedient never look up Proverbs chapter 31. It's very odd to me because you would see in there that she has her own business clearly, and she, yes, the business part of what she does is to make sure she represents her husband well and all those things. But the Proverbs 31 woman is always weird. We never have men who are red pill brothers in disguise as Israelites. We never have them ever talk about Proverbs 31. That's just I find it very interesting. Why do we not have what YAH made? It's YAH made your wife, and he said she doesn't have to do this, but one of the things that comes with being a Proverbs 31 woman is to make sure that she does her business and handles it well. If my wife gets 100 sales today, you don't think that makes me look great? Don't get this twisted. You don't want your woman to be seen ever. You want your woman to be completely covered in her face and everything like that. When my wife walks around beautiful, you don't think that shows well on me? See, some of y'all, because you want women to be destitute and all that and just be slaves, you busy up here talking about her makeup and what's on her face. But you know, when it talks about the makeup on the woman's face, Paul says that is not our custom. That's not even Israelite culture. He's talking about somebody else's culture. But you got some of these sisters out here thinking that if they don't have mask on, that they're not holy. Paul told you that's not even our custom. You don't want sisters out here because you say a woman that's really submissive to a man, which is not supposed to be submitted to man, it's supposed to be submission, submitted to a mission. But this is what y'all say. She's not submitted to a man. This is what you say. You have said. If she is not submitted to a mission or to a man, right, that she's not righteous. Being submitted means that she shouldn't have on jewelry and this and that or whatever. Well, what about Sister Rebecca? You know, our great mother, grandmother, right? Because that's ultimately was a grandmother, is she's a mother to us, right? And she would have been wearing, if you study her culture, she would have been wearing, matter of fact, if you see what the Bible even discusses, she would have more than likely had a nose ring, she would have had an earring, and she probably would have had a chain that attached the two together. And yet, y'all only talk about the fact she ran out there and she prostrated herself down. And never talk about the fact that when she came out there, she would have had her piercings. But you say if a woman has any piercings, she's not holy. So I'm just saying there's something not adding up. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm just saying when I start searching and researching and looking at stuff, I'm like, some of this doesn't make sense. It seems like you guys are just trying to control people rather than love them. And no wonder so much hell, because real love Yahweh is love. Elohim is love. Yahweh Achaba. Real love loves the hell out of people. Seems like we clearly want people to be in hellish situations, but we don't want real love. See, why do we not have what Yah made? Seems like real love loves the hell out of people. It's 11:11, babe, if you're listening. Real love, real actions of Yah love the hell out of people. Literally. If you're tired of helling somebody, learn how to love them like Yah loves them. But you have to be his disciple. Why do you not have what Yah made? Because you might not be disciplined enough. You might not be his disciple, son, daughter of the Most High. John 13:34-35. By this will men know that ye are my disciples, by the clothes that you wear, right? No, that's not right. Wait a minute. By this will men know that you are my disciples, by the food that you cook for people. No, wait. That's not it. That's not it. This is it. By this will men know that you are my disciples, by the size of your building that you go to church in. No, wait. That's not it either. That's not it either. Hold on. Wait a second. I'm gonna get it. By this, will men know that you are my disciples by the way your choir looks in the robes. No. Wait, that's not what it says. That's not what it says. I'm gonna get it. Hold on. Wait a minute. By this will men know that you're my disciples by when you make sure that you sing gospel songs all the time. Oh, wait. That's I I'm I promise you I'm gonna get to it one of these times. Hold on. By this will men know that you are my disciples, because you love one another on your own level. The way if somebody shows you love, then you show them love back. No, that's not right either. That's not right either. Hold on. What is it? By this will men know that you are my disciples, because you are red pill, bro. No, wait. It's like on the tip of my tongue. By this will men know that you are my disciples, because you speak in tongue, kind of, sort of, but no, that's not what it says. Hold up. By this will men know, will men know that you are my disciples, because you praise him in the name of Jesus. Right? Wait. I think I got it this time. By this will men know that you are my disciples, by the way you love one another. And do not love one another according to your own standards. What does he say? He says, love one another the way that he has loved you. If you really want to know if somebody's in the kingdom, look at if they love one another correctly. But you're looking for everything else. Why don't we have what Yah made? Because you're not looking for what Yah made. Yah didn't even wear, Yahushua was on earth, and he didn't even wear a suit or tie. But you say to the preacher, and he said, wear a suit or tie. How you doing, Tiana? Thanks for being on. You think to be married, you have to walk down the aisle. Nowhere does it talk about that in the Bible. By what? By the way I act, by the culture I have, by the kingdom I came. When Yahushua came, he said, I am the door. I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life, I am the bread. He who hungers and thirsts for righteousness, if you eat of this bread, you'll never hunger again. He said, if you really wanted to know who I was, you would have asked me for water, and I would have given you water. It would have been life-giving water. You would have never been thirsty ever again. It's not what the world wants, it's what Yah wants. By this will men know. Now you got to start asking yourself, what is this? I think we're going to talk about that this evening. No, actually, no. We're going to have, hopefully, I got to make sure I contact the brothers. I haven't contacted the brothers yet, so we'll see if it works tonight. But prayerfully, we'll have the brothers on. I gave them notice, a couple of them, but prayerfully, we have someone on TikTok for us today. And on YouTube, you just have to listen in. I'll try to see if I can set up the screen. Probably won't be able to set up the screen where you guys can see them, but we'll at least you should be able to hear the audio. But thank you guys for being on. I appreciate you. I honor your presence today. I don't have anything else left. Unless anybody has questions, comments, or concerns for myself. Thank you for being on. As a reminder, this Saturday is going to be pretty busy for us. Saturday, 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. It's going to be the live session. 10 a.m. Eastern New York time is going to be Shabbat Shalom service on the Kofi Ofori podcast. 11 a.m. Eastern New York time is going to be something for the children, for the babies. Um, Shabbat school at 12:30 p.m. Eastern New York time is going to be an SOC meeting for everybody. Um, at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time is going to be a men's meeting. So I'll put all that out. If you don't have stuff, and by the way, please, we've been trying to put out the stuff. I'm gonna try to put it on the website and stuff as well. If you need to text us or email us for this information, also, ask us for it, please do. I'm gonna try to start. I don't have it as of yet, but I'm gonna try to start putting it on the YouTube videos as well. We have a WhatsApp link, which we're gonna use as like bulletin board material. We also have a WhatsApp link that we're going to use as like bulletin board material. We're also going to start making sure that we use Discord to be able to have some conversations as well. And that'll just be for us to stay in connection. It's easy to use Discord to say hello and talk to each other and continue to have community and stuff like that. So we'll be using Discord to just check in with everybody and make sure everybody daily is doing stuff. And then when we talk about and when we do WhatsApp, that'll be for bulletin board material. And for each one, we'll have something that's for everybody. We'll have something that's just for the sisters, and we'll have something that's just for the brothers. Okay. So we'll have stuff that's on there for everybody. So if you haven't gotten on there, or whatever, there's stuff we've already been putting on there, links and everything, Zoom links, all that. And so I don't have it on there today. Prayerfully by this evening, I'll have from this point on. If you go to our YouTube channel, you should be able to see something on there that specifically says like this is the WhatsApp link, this is the Discord link, and we'll even have ones for the brothers and sisters and for all of us. So you'll see like 6 different links that'll be popping up on there. So read carefully so you're not getting, I think it might even been my fault, but I think some of you got like the men's link that were sisters and stuff like that. So just look at which link you get to be able to say, yes, I want this, and no, I don't, because there's certain things that we want to be just for the brothers, just for the sisters, and then for everybody in general. Okay. I don't have them added. Matter of fact, I have to have my wife show me how to do it, but maybe we can add it to our not Patreon link. What did he call that link? I have it on our TikTok channel. If you go to our main TikTok page, you can click on our link tree. I'll see if she can add it to our link tree as well. And then that way you guys can go on there and add it too as well. So you guys can, and that way everybody all around the world, because WhatsApp is something that reaches everybody. So if you're in England, this will start helping us to be able to make sure that we get you information. We can start talking stuff even on WhatsApp or even on Discord, right? We can make sure you guys are aware of stuff that's going on. You can hear things, you can get links to things, even if you miss certain things that you're not there live for. Maybe you can still be able to listen to them or put input on something that before a meeting happens or something like that. So it's just a way. Those in Jamaica, which we're trying to get, I still got to get with Sister Monica, but those that are in Jamaica, and even those that are Jamaican, we might just try to have a Jamaican thing, or a Caribbean really, but at least start off with a Jamaican group, but also those, of course, that are joining us from Jamaica on a regular basis. But we want to make sure we get those things done. Our YouTube channel is literally called #FindKofi, like what's you probably saw when you were coming into the live session. Or if you look at one of our videos, it's pretty much on all of our videos. #FIND, like you're looking for something, and then my name, Kofi, KOFI. So we appreciate you all. Thank you for being on. And we appreciate you so much. I have nothing else, though, for today. I will see you tonight. Prayerfully, I will have some brothers on with us tonight, and we'll be able to have some in-depth conversation. Hope to have about 2 or 3 of us. So we're excited. You said, can you lose your purpose, or have you just walked away from it? Can you lose your purpose? Well, purpose comes out of vision. If you have a vision, then purpose is just what you do every day to get to the vision. So let's say I have a vision a year out, then my purpose starts coming into play. So let's say a vision a year out is we'll be growing, we'll be selling food to people based off of what we grew in our land. Let's just say that's a vision I have. I'm not saying that's the vision. I'm just putting it out as an example. Let's say that's a vision that I have. Well, if that's a vision that I have, then the purpose starts getting easier. At that point, I start saying, okay, well, if the vision is a year out to do then my purpose, okay, what's my purpose every month, right? And out of that, in each month, then okay, what's my purpose every week? What's the purpose of what I do? Okay, and then out of that, was my purpose every day? And then that helps me. Okay, well, what's my purpose every hour? And then that might help me because what's my purpose every minute, right? So purpose is going to be attached to vision, right? Yeah, exactly. How you doing, Brother Kenyatta? Yeah, so purpose is attached to vision. If I have no vision, I really won't have any purpose. If I have no purpose, it's usually because I either don't have a vision or I haven't learned how to plan out, so to speak. Like purpose really goes with planning. There's a saying that goes with that. I can't remember what it is. It's like a military saying. I can't remember, but purpose and you know, purpose and planning go together. What is it? What is it like if well, I'm thinking of one that's not exactly the one I'm looking for, but there's another saying too, right? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail, but it's not that, but it's something else. But like, yeah, that's the one I'm thinking. That's not the one I'm thinking of, but that's one that I can articulate right now. But let me just say it like this, even if we were use kind of the same kind of or context or maybe kind of just shift the words around a little bit. If I have a purpose, I have a plan, right? So if I have purpose, then I don't fail. If I fail, then I don't have purpose. Or if I have vision, right? Or if I have vision, then I plan my purpose. If I plan my purpose, then I have vision. This is why we say to people a lot of times, if you have no vision, somebody has a vision for you. Might be the 7 P's. I gotta look up the 7 P's again, to be honest with you. But yeah, so it might, or even I feel like there's even some Franklin Covey training in there too for me that's kind of popping up. We got that for leadership in the military. We got this free Covey training thing. But anyways, I thank you guys. I appreciate you. I'm excited about where we're going. I'm excited where you're headed. Keep us in prayer. We're going to try and look at the land one more again. And this time we're going to take a golf cart so we can actually look through all of the land. We were barely able to make it through a fraction of it without like stopping and looking and seeing this fruit and looking at this and looking at that and what the wildlife was there and all that. So we're planning on going there again sometime before we start heading back up north. So keep us in prayer about that. Thank you so much. Those who joined us for Thursday Rising Prayer, continue to lift us up and lift up the things we're talking about. Sister Patricia, sorry if you're still on. Heavenly Father, we pray for Sister Patricia, for her family. We ask that you look over them, what they need exactly. Comfort her in what she's asking for, and help her to know that even if things are not going exactly what she wants, that all things are happening in your timing, and ultimately allow her, if certain things happen that are outside of her control, not to remind her not to blame herself for those things that she's not. It's not a result of her decision making. For every choice, there's an invoice, and as long as she makes the right choices, the things that you will give to her because of what she's given unto you, those things shall happen in due season. It's in Yahweh's name we pray and give thanks. Amen. All right. Sorry, Sister Patricia, I almost forgot 2 days in a row. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for bringing that to my memory. So we thank you all. We appreciate you. Amen. And Minister Nice, thank you for joining in prayer. And she's over the prayer line, by the way. If we could add Sister Patricia on, I believe Sister Patricia, was it for two of your children you were praying for, right? Can you make sure that I'm right on that before I ask Minister Nice to add it to the prayer line? I meant to say it earlier, Minister Nice. I apologize. Once I got off, and I was listening, but once I got off, I couldn't get back on. Sister Patricia, was it for your for the children? Was it 2 children, something like that? So I can make sure I give it to Minister Nice. You don't have to say exactly what it was. You said something yesterday about your sister. Sorry, sister and daughter-in-law. Excuse me. So sister and daughter-in-law. Sister and daughter-in-law. If we can pray for Sister Patricia's sister and daughter-in-law, if we can add that to the prayer list. All right. And I think we're supposed to talk today anyway. So I'll say it again later on. But thank you for being on. We appreciate you. Please check out my wife, the Honorable Maya, on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A-N-D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. And we're thankful and grateful for everything she does for the community. We thank you guys for being on. Thank you guys for helping us. We'll see you guys this evening at 8 p.m. And then we'll see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. And until I have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again, as always, it's been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant to Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And until I have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again, please remember, as always, just that you are loved, you are necessary, you're majestic, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in the system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family. Peace. To everybody who's still with us on TikTok, this is how the shout out works. If you've never done a shout out with us,